Chapter 1. Great Xia Kingdom. Capital City. The street leading to the Fusion Temple was crowded with people. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Sorry, the mount is frightened. Far away, a young man suddenly came riding a two-headed demon wolf as big as a calf. For a moment, there was chaos and pedestrians hurriedly tried to get out of the way. Wait for the other party to leave in a cloud of dust, looking at the smug mockery in his look back. Then everyone understood. This guy's mount is not frightened at all, he's clearly showing off. Pa, what the hell? How dare a rubbish biological civilization show off like this? Who gave him the courage? Damn it, once we merge with the extraordinary civilization, I'll be the first to destroy his planet. While the crowd was filled with indignation and hurling curses, a large shadow slowly passed over the sky. Wow, what is that? The legendary fairy beast. You don't understand, that's called Qin Tian. Was he summoned by Zhenbei country's #1 prodigy from his immortal cultivation planet not long ago? Yes, it is said that he can call the wind and rain and travel 1,000 miles in an instant. The Xiaoxian civilization is recognized as the strongest civilization among the extraordinary civilizations, and it really lives up to its reputation. Alas, I don't ask for the strongest. This time, I just want to integrate one of the extraordinary civilizations, even the lowest level high-tech planet will do. Everyone looked up. He looked with envy at the gigantic fairy beast in the sky that was gradually flying away with a wingspan of hundreds of meters. In the crowd, Qin Tian retracted his gaze. He watched the scene calmly. A year has passed since the time travel. He had long been accustomed to this strange world. Here, anyone who is 18 years of age or older, everyone has the opportunity to randomly merge consciousness into a planet and create a planetary civilization. Everyone is the creator, everyone is God. Someone integrated the Savage Beast planet and created the Savage Beast civilization. The Savage Beasts roared and pierced the sky. Some people integrated technological planets, created technological civilization, and launched starship fleets to sweep across the world. Some people have integrated magic planets to create magic civilizations, forbidden magic spells, and destroy the world. Some people merged spiritual planets to create a civilization for cultivating immortals, and in a moment, the galaxy was destroyed. More importantly, the creators can summon the civilized races they have created. Some people were riding strange beasts on the streets. Someone was flying an airship on the road. Some people even ride cranes to fly in the sky. Successful integration will ascend to heaven in one step, become a child of destiny. Worst case, you can also enjoy wealth and splendor. The fusion failed. Can only become low-class civilians. Qin Tian followed the crowd and came to the Fusion Temple. The huge square in front of the temple was already crowded with people. Today is the annual day for the fusion of planets. All young people of the right age in the territory of Daxia came here. People of Daxia, my good men of the Great Xia Empire. Today, it is the day of your integration, it is also an important opportunity for you to change your destiny. It's a dragon or a worm, it's heaven or hell. Everything depends on today. An elder of the temple who was in charge of the integration came to the front of the temple and shouted while holding a high-frequency voice transmission microphone. The fusion of major planetary civilizations, it not only affects the development of this world, there are also many aspects such as life, habits, and culture. For example, in addition to the microphone held by the temple elders, there is also a sci-fi virtual light screen information projector above the temple. Also, in the capital, you can also see modern hotels, ancient inns, fairy pavilions in the world of immortal cultivation, and future artificial intelligence theme hotels. Various extremely incongruous buildings are gathered together in a realistic way. In conclusion, under the erosion of countless civilizations, in the end, this weird and deformed world was formed. There, this will be the starting point for you to become a superior person, it is also the end of your shattered dreams. The temple elder pointed to the hall behind him. In the middle of the hall, there stands a huge black rock several meters high. That is the Fusion God Stone. It is the medium that connects the vast star field and billions of planets. The eyes of everyone in the square were fixed on it. Some looked nervous. Some looked uneasy. Can you fuse a planet? Become a creator above the common people, it all depends on this. Let's start numbering. Please pay attention to the order. The temple elder said no more words and waved his hand. The subordinates immediately stepped forward to distribute number plates. The person who got the license plate, they consciously lined up in neat rows according to their numbers. As the first group of people entered the temple, various brilliant lights gradually bloomed on the fusion divine stone. Result: appear soon. The excitement of the successful fusion made them howl and cheer loudly. The face of failure is pale, and tears flow. Some of them couldn't even accept the blow and fainted. All sentient beings are like this. After a while, it was Qin Tian's turn. Arriving in the temple, looking at the huge fusion divine stone in front of him, Qin Tian took a deep breath. It must succeed. Otherwise, there is only one chance. Once it fails, lifelong into the lowest class of civilians, there is absolutely no possibility of turning things around. Just like the elder said, hell and heaven, just a fine line between. Let's get started. At the signal from the temple elder nearby, Qin Tian and 9 other people from the same group placed their palms on the sacred stone. The next moment, Qin Tian only felt a blackness in front of his eyes and his head was a little dazed. When this feeling stabilizes and vision is restored, Qin Tian found that his consciousness appeared in a dark void. The stars dotted around, bright and gorgeous. Is this the starry sky? As Qin Tian was looking around, a huge suction force suddenly came. His consciousness was instantly pulled away. Not long after, a fiery red planet quickly appeared in sight. And, getting closer, getting bigger and bigger. Chapter 2. Qin Tian did not resist the attraction of the fiery red planet in his sight. Let yourself be like a shooting star, falling towards the surface of the planet. Final, he suddenly plunged into it. It was pitch black all around, and no objects could be seen. Qin Tian didn't move, waiting patiently. Fusion is divided into 3 steps. Step 1, consciousness is chosen by the planet. Step 2, alignment of consciousness with the planet. Step 3, consciousness merges with the planet. The first step has been successful. Now comes the most critical second step. If the consciousness and the planet are in agreement. So, the third step of integration is just a matter of time. I don't know how long it took. Finally, Qin Tian gradually sensed a scorching breath. Success! Qin Tian couldn't help but shout excitedly in his heart. This is a sign that consciousness is merging with the planet. He felt the breath, it is the breath emanating from the planet. Once the fusion is successful, the two become one. It indicates that he, Qin Tian, will become the god of this planet. But soon, Qin Tian's excitement gradually faded. My heart sank slowly. In general, the milder the planet's breath, the better the environment, the more suitable it is for the reproduction and development of life. And the feeling that this red planet gave him, fiery, violent. Almost the opposite of gentleness. This means that it is very likely that this is a planet with a very harsh environment and it is difficult for life to survive. Turn on the detection system. Qin Tian shouted immediately. Before fusion, everyone will go to the technology department under the temple and bind a detection system connected to consciousness. If the fusion is successful, the exploration system will be automatically activated to help the creator better understand his planet. But, after the second stage, it can be basically confirmed that the fusion is successful. Most people who are eager to understand the state of the planet, generally, people will choose to activate it in advance. Soon, an information light screen appeared in front of Qin Tian. Planet name, none topographic features, volcanoes, magma planetary environment, extremely harsh overall rating, under investigation. Really? Qin Tian's heart trembled. I was extremely depressed. The quality of the planet's environment, it is an important indicator for judging a planet. We can basically infer the biological status of this planet. Extremely bad is the lowest judgment. In Qin Tian's memory, planets that receive this rating rarely have life on them. There is a high probability that it's directly a Death Star. No life, just like consciousness cannot achieve harmony with the planet. It all means fusion failed. In the temple square, everyone's eyes were focused on the projection screen above the temple. Number 85 has been successfully matched and is merging. Planetary environment, normal. Number 89 is in successful alignment and is merging. Planetary environment, suitable. Number 82 has been successfully matched and is merging. Planetary environment, normal. Over time, the projection screen refreshes and broadcasts information from time to time. Number 80 is in successful alignment and is merging. Planetary environment, excellent. The projection screen reported another message. This immediately caused an uproar in the square. This is the first time since the fusion ceremony began that an excellent environment rating has been achieved. FK, did I hear that right? Excellent environment, almost certainly an extraordinary planet. It could also be a spiritual planet. Speaking of which, it seems that there hasn't been any immortal cultivation civilization for 2 consecutive years. Maybe one will appear this year. Number 80, does anyone know this person? He looks familiar, as if he came from Zhenbei country. No wonder. Zhenbei country is a holy land where the creators of extraordinary civilizations gather. It is not surprising that 1 or 2 extraordinary civilizations emerge. In the temple elders who had been indifferent were also alarmed. He turned to look at the young girl standing in front of the sacred stone, and his expression immediately changed. If we can integrate the spiritual energy planets and create a civilization of immortal cultivation, no matter where they come from, they will definitely be absorbed into Zhenbei country. He may even join the army of King Zhenbei and be granted a title of nobility. It seems that I have to curry favor with you. Just as the temple elders were thinking about what gift to give later, there was another commotion below. Number 88 has been successfully matched and is merging. Planetary environment, extremely harsh. The projection screen announced Qin Tian's awakening information. FK, who is this genius again? It's extremely bad. This may not be life-threatening. It's not possible. In the past 100 years, the planets that have been judged to be in this environment are basically dead stars. Haha, what's the use of successfully matching a Death Star? What a waste of such an auspicious license plate. The crowd below was gloating. The envy that had just arisen seemed to be diluted a lot in an instant. The temple elder looked at number 88 Qin Tian. He sighed slightly and shook his head. No life means the fusion has failed. From now on, Qin Tian is not resigned. From now on, he will be completely reduced to a worthless person and be at the mercy of others. This is a world where the strong prey on the weak. It is a world with very strict class divisions. The creator of the galaxy, they are the group of people standing at the top of the food chain, naturally superior to others. For those lower class civilians, he has the power of life and death. Even if they don't like you on the street, they can kill you without taking any responsibility. However, just when Qin Tian was completely desperate, a voice suddenly sounded in my mind. Ding! It has been detected that the creator is fusing the planets. The God-level creator auxiliary system has begun binding. It has been detected that the creator has bound to an unknown low-level and inferior system. The God-level creator auxiliary system automatically begins assimilation. Assimilation successful. Bind successfully. Ding! The creator fusion planet has been detected to have no life characteristics, and the God-level creator auxiliary system has automatically activated the rescue mode. Rescue mode. Randomly select billions of species in the universe and migrate them to the creator's planet. Ding! A species suitable for survival on the creator's planet has been randomly locked in the universe. There are 10 million species of organisms and 10 billion organisms in total. Begin the migration. Migration successful. Chapter 3. Buzz. Qin Tian only felt that the originally violent aura of the planet suddenly became gentle and majestic. Like a dried-up creek, suddenly, a huge amount of rainwater was injected into the place. This is the breath of life. It is the vigorous breath formed by countless lives. At the same time, a vast planetary energy suddenly poured into Qin Tian's consciousness. Fusion successful. The entire planet and his consciousness became one. From this moment on, he is the planet. The planet is also him. Qin Tian didn't care about anything else. At this moment, like all the creators who have successfully merged, I can't wait to see this world that belongs to me with my own eyes. A thought moves, Qin Tian immediately appeared above the planet. On the ground below, there are many volcanoes and magma is flowing. The scorching heat almost created visible heat waves in the air. And in the open space between the volcano and the magma is a flowing black ocean. Those were crawling black bugs. Densely packed and countless. Each one is as big as a millstone and looks like an ant magnified countless times. They were moving in and out of a huge pit, with lumps of gravel and soil clamped in their jaws. After observing these insects that seemed to be building nests, thoughts flash, Qin Tian appeared in front of a volcano that towered into the clouds. This is one of the most basic abilities after becoming the creator of a planet. In a moment, you can reach any place on the planet. Under this giant volcano 10,000 meters high, there are hundreds of huge creatures as big as ships. They were covered in thick, fiery red carapaces, had 6 pairs of thick limbs, and roared continuously, making the ear-splitting sound, as if claiming territory. The next second, Qin Tian came to the sky above a river formed by magma. The magma in the river was rolling and bubbles were coming out. In such a harsh environment, miraculously, there are still living things. Bugs that look like giant crabs crawl in and out from time to time. High temperatures of thousands of degrees have no effect on them. After a while, Qin Tian disappeared again. After continuously changing hundreds of directions and observing hundreds of species, Qin Tian returned to the original place. First of all, the novelty period has passed. Secondly, it was impossible for him to check all the 10 million species of organisms migrated from the system one by one. However, according to hundreds of species observed, without exception, they were all various kinds of insects. The rest, I guess it's the same. Perhaps, only bugs can survive on such a harsh planet. This can only create a Zerg civilization under the biological civilization branch. Qin Tian murmured. The civilizations integrated by the creator are divided into 3 categories. The strongest is the energy civilization. Energy civilization is also known as extraordinary civilization, and the individual combat power is very strong. The second is scientific and technological civilization. Although technological civilization has great development potential, it relies too much on external equipment and is prone to technological bottlenecks. The worst is naturally biological civilization. The population intelligence of biological civilizations is generally low, their individual combat power is also weak, and they also have very strict survival limitations. There are countless branches under the 3 major civilizations. Among them, they are divided into different levels. If you say, the immortal cultivation civilization is recognized as the strongest among the extraordinary civilizations. So, the Zerg civilization ranks at the bottom of the list in the world's biological civilization system. But Qin Tian was not in any depressed mood. It is a blessing to be able to create a civilization. Even if it is at the bottom, it is better than failing in integration. Planet name, none topographic features, volcanoes, magma planetary environment, extremely harsh overall rating, under investigation. Planet name, none civilized race, none evolution stage, none number of races, none auxiliary function, god level deduction. After everyone merges successfully, in addition to basic planet information, a civilization race interface will also be generated. At this time, the planet's comprehensive rating has not yet shown results. Race interface, it's blank right now. Only when the creator selects a main racial civilization will the corresponding racial data be refreshed. But the difference is, there is an additional auxiliary function on the interface. This is obviously the product of assimilation of the super god level creator auxiliary system. God level deduction technique? Deducing what? Deducing everything. The system immediately gave the answer in consciousness. Deducing everything. Qin Tian thought about it. He asked a question that concerned him most. Can my future also be deduced? Can. Begin the deduction. Ding, insufficient conditions, unable to deduce, please ask the creator to determine the race and civilization. Choose a main biological race. Qin Tian glanced at the group of insects below that looked like giant ants. Just pointed at it. Said, with those bugs as the race civilization of this planet, deducing whether I can survive in Daxia in the future. After a few seconds, the system voice sounded. Chapter 4. Deduction Route, the future destiny of the creator in Daxia. Civilized race, rockworm. Deduction Result 1, hiding in the mountains and forests, the creator's survival rate, 80%. Deduction Result 2, leaning towards 1, the creator's survival rate, 50%. Deduction Result 3, hiding in the countryside, the creator's survival rate, 20%. Deduction Result 4, walking in the town, the creator's survival rate, 1%. Deduction Result 5, go to Kyoto, the creator's survival rate, 0.1%. How could the survival rate be so low? Qin Tian didn't expect that after becoming the creator of a planet, survival in the Great Xia Kingdom is still so slim. But it's normal when you think about it. Before the race is summoned, there is actually no essential difference between the creator and ordinary people. Both are ordinary people. Even with racial protection, it is not absolutely safe. For example, if you create your own rockworm civilization, summon a rockworm. Not to mention other creators who have stronger species to rely on, even a wild beast can take his life. This is probably the reason why the system deduces that even if you hide in the mountains and forests, you cannot guarantee 100% survival. Of course, it is impossible for Qin Tian to take rockworms as his own civilized race. It was just an experiment. Qin Tian looked at the various species of creatures on the surface of the distant planet. He must find the strongest species among these 10 million species. Just then, the system seemed to sense Qin Tian's thoughts. A curtain of light suddenly appeared before his eyes. It displays information about all species on the entire planet. Arrange in order of strength. Whenever Qin Tian focuses on a species information, the message was immediately magnified. It not only shows the three-dimensional realistic image of this species, here are its pros and cons. It is indeed a god-level system. Qin Tian admired in his heart. In the free garbage detection system of the Fusion Temple Technology Department, but it is definitely not that powerful. The first species, Qin Tian has seen, they are the huge monsters lurking under the giant volcano. Flame Devourer body type, 50 cm ability, breathing flames, capable of spitting out flames of 10,000 degree high temperature. Advantages: the carapace has extremely strong defense and strong attack power. Disadvantages: slow movements and extremely poor reproductive capacity. System: with the Flame Gold Devourer as the planetary race civilization, begin to deduce whether I can survive in the capital of Daxia and the major towns. Qin Tian changed the wording to be more precise. The previous question was too vague. This leads to more complicated system deduction results. Deduction route: the future fate of the creator in the capital and towns of Daxia. Civilized race, flame-eating gold bug. Deduction result 1, keep a low profile, be careful with words and actions, the creator's survival rate, 30%. Deduction result 2, do whatever you want, don't be arrogant or impatient, the creator's survival rate, 10%. Deduction result 3, unruly and reckless, the creator's survival rate is 1%. The system gave 3 results. The first one is easy to understand. To put it simply, if someone punches me, I still have to put on a smile. The second one means not to cause trouble but not to be afraid of trouble either. There is no need to say more about the third one. Is the survival rate still so low? Qin Tian was a little helpless. Even if you keep a low profile, you still have less than a 50% chance of survival. But there is no way. This is already the most powerful species on the entire planet. Biological civilization is the weakest. What's more, the Zerg are the lowest among biological civilizations. Not to mention those immortal cultivators or magicians who can destroy the world with a wave of their hands. The high-energy particle cannons of technological civilization alone are enough to blast a flame-eating gold bug into pieces. Even building a flaming gold-eating insect civilization is not that easy, the fertility is too poor. Among the 3 major civilization systems, extraordinary civilizations rely on cultivation to improve the overall strength of the race. Scientific and technological civilization relies on breaking through technological bottlenecks. Biological civilization, on the other hand, depends entirely on evolution. The evolution of all things in the world is a long and lasting process that accumulates over time. But with the intervention of the Creator, this time is greatly shortened. After 100 years of exploration, the creators of biological civilization have discovered a very simple trick. By devouring the flesh and blood of other biological species on the planet, it gradually influences and transforms itself. After countless reproductions, eventually, a mutant was born that was more powerful than the original in every way. Finally, the mutants are used as seeds to reproduce a whole new generation, thereby achieving the life evolution of the entire ethnic group. So, among them, reproduction is like a bond. If there is a problem with the link, it will definitely greatly affect the efficiency and speed of evolution. If the reproductive capacity is stronger, it would be better if you were smarter. Think of this. Qin Tian suddenly realized a very important issue. The strength of species on a planet, it does not necessarily depend on the strength of the individual species. Just like in the previous life, there are too many wild beasts such as jackals, tigers, and leopards that are far stronger than humans. Humans rely on wisdom, make tools and weapons, and eventually stand at the top of the pyramid. There is little difference in intelligence between living things. This is especially true for bugs. But there is a word that can completely replace wisdom. To judge the overall strength of a race. Even the word, it can cover scientific and technological civilization and even extraordinary civilization systems. Potential. The development potential of a group. Arrange them according to their racial development potential. Qin Tian ordered immediately. The information screen in front of me flashed for a moment. It stabilized quickly. Really, sort by potential, the first one is no longer the flame-devouring beetle. It's a tiny bug called a parasite. Using parasites as a planetary race civilization, begin to deduce whether I can survive in the capital and major towns of Daxia. After a while, the deduction has produced results. Only, when I heard the results, Qin Tian was shocked. Chapter 5. The result of the system deduction is very simple. There aren't as many conditions as before. So simple, just 4 words. Deduction result, invincible in the world. Qin Tian immediately looked at the information about the parasite. Parasite's size, 50 cm. Ability 1, Parasitism, drill into other organisms and coexist with the host. Ability 2, Absorption, the parasite will instinctively absorb the host's genes to improve its own gene chain in order to achieve its own evolution. Ability 3, Group Consciousness, parasites do not have individual consciousness, all individual consciousnesses are concentrated together to form a unique consciousness network. Advantages, extremely strong reproductive capacity and unlimited potential for racial development. Disadvantages, extremely slow movements, no attack power, no defense power. The parasite looks a bit like an earthworm. Black in appearance, looks extremely weak. Very weak indeed. The speed is slow, there is no defense or attack power at all. But seeing the ability of the parasite, Qin Tian instantly understood why the system deduced invincibility. The 3 abilities of parasites, each one is perfect. Parasitism allows them to survive. Absorbing genes allows them to have unlimited evolutionary possibilities. Group consciousness allows them to form a unified, complete, united and extremely efficient group. The 3 together, it is no exaggeration to say that they grew up and developed an invincible civilization. Especially the ability to absorb genes. This is equivalent to a perfect solution to the problem that is the most troublesome for the creators of all biological civilizations. The evolution of a species depends on eating the flesh and blood of other creatures. And then reproduce from generation to generation. Can it evolve successfully? Not only must we keep trying, there is also a certain element of luck involved. It's like a passive skill. Suddenly it became an active skill that could be selected. Are you invincible in attack? I absorbed your genes and evolved an equally invincible means of attack. Are you invincible in defense? I absorbed your genes and evolved an equally invincible defense. Do you have wings and can fly? I absorbed your genes and evolved wings that can also fly. In conclusion, what are your strengths? I will absorb and evolve. Use your strengths, gathering the advantages of countless evolutions, to finally defeat you. Certainly, the premise of all this is the ability to parasitize successfully. The parasites have very obvious defects in their early stages. They are destined to fall on the road to invincibility. The journey of invincibility died before it even began. Just like right now. Qin Tian just checked. Found out that this parasitic Zerg swarm is not far from here. Below is the rockworm's nest. Not surprisingly, the rockworm swarms will soon expand their territory in search of prey. Slow-moving parasites, it is impossible to parasitize in the bodies of these flexible rockworms and you will only be devoured by them in the end. So, this is a contradictory race that combines the strongest and the weakest. Whether you can grow and become strong depends entirely on your appearance. But, with Qin Tian as the creator, they will eventually become the masters of this planet. Even, it has become the nightmare of all technological civilizations and even extraordinary civilizations. A thought moves, Qin Tian arrived above the group of flaming gold-eating bugs. As the will of the creator, it was all released in an instant. The next moment, the earth roared and the roar shook the sky. Hundreds of flame-eating gold-eating beetles as big as a hill spread out their 6 limbs and began to rush madly towards the direction of the parasitic beetles. This is the second of the creator, it is also the most important ability. Take control. The creator of a planet is the god of the planet. His will is everything. Not only can it drive any creature on the planet, but it can also control its life and death. Even those immortal cultivators on the immortal cultivation planets who are so powerful that they can move mountains, fill the sea and destroy galaxies with a single thought cannot resist the will of their creator. The figure flashed, Qin Tian came to the parasite's territory again. A terrifying will and pressure instantly spread out. The rockworms in the south, then they began to retreat to the outside like a tide in panic, even abandoning the nest they had just built. A swarm of fire bees in the north, they dropped the prey they had just caught and flew away in a panic. In the lava river to the west, cancers emerged one after another and began to flee in a scramble. Tens of thousands of huge iron-clad beetles in the east, they lowered their ferocious heads, then turned around and ran away. Under Qin Tian's will, immediately, this area became a forbidden area. Without his permission, no living creature on the entire planet will be allowed to set foot here. Not long after, the biological populations that originally lived nearby fled, forming a large vacuum zone. Thousands of miles away, a group of flame-eating gold bugs are running at full speed. They cross towering volcanoes, wade through deep and hot lava rivers, and pass through one swarm of insect territories after another. Even if you fall into a volcano, even if it is submerged in the lava river, even if they are besieged by a swarm of insects of equal strength and become their food, even if, at this moment, it seems that nothing can stop it from running. In their fiery red eyes, only two words left. Accelerate. Accelerate. Speed up again. To this end, at any cost. You can do whatever it takes. For the slow-moving flame gold eater, spanning nearly 1,000 kilometers, it will take at least 2 days. But in such a crazy rush without regard for loss, it took only a dozen hours to reach the parasite territory. Originally there were more than 500 people. There are less than 100 left. But, that's enough. In front of this group of newly arrived flame-eating gold bugs, there were 18 parasitic bugs lying. Yes, the entire population of parasites is just this small. Without intervention, it's really only a matter of time before this group of parasites dies out. Driven by Qin Tian's will, one by one, the parasitic insects began to wriggle their fat bodies, slowly crawling towards the flame-eating gold-eating insect in front of them, and then drilling into it through the gaps in its shell. The remaining flame gold-eating insects scattered. It formed a circle and surrounded the 18 parasitic hosts. They certainly didn't do this for protection. Under Qin Tian's will, no creature dares to approach this forbidden area, so there is naturally no danger. They actually have only one function. That is, food. Chapter 6. Number 85, Fusion completed, initial comprehensive rating of the planet, intermediate. Number 82, Fusion completed, initial comprehensive rating of the planet, low. Number 87, the match failed. Number 84, the match failed. The light curtain on the temple square, refreshing and broadcasting everyone's information. For those whose fusion is complete, the exploration system will make an initial assessment based on the data detected on the planet. From high to low, it is divided into unlimited level, super level, advanced level, intermediate level and low level respectively. In general, the intermediate and lower levels represent a biological civilization. Above the advanced level are scientific and technological civilization and extraordinary civilization. Although this is only the initial judgment made by the system, afterwards, it will be revised and adjusted based on the detailed information gradually detected. But basically, there won't be much error. Number 89, Fusion completed, Planetary Primary Comprehensive Rating, Advanced. Number 86, the match failed. Number 80, Fusion completed, Initial Comprehensive Rating of the planet, Infinite. Wow! Hear this report. The square suddenly became lively. Infinite. It's actually infinite level. I told you, a planet with an excellent environment will definitely have a good rating. Infinite rating, basically, no, it can be concluded that this is an extraordinary planet. I just don't know what the attribute is. If it's super, it's very likely to be an extraordinary planet. If it's infinite, it's probably a magic planet at worst. There is still a 50% chance that it is a spiritual planet. Tisk tisk, the immortal cultivation civilization. Look. Number 80 is awake. Inside the Temple of Awakening. The temple elder narrowed his eyes. He took the initiative to stand up and greet the young girl number 80 who was walking towards him. Smiling, he said, "Ha ha ha, not bad, very good. Infinite rating must be an extraordinary planet." Immediately, the elder bowed his head slightly. Asked carefully, "What attributes?" "Aura." Bai Shishi suppressed the excitement in her heart. "Try to maintain a humble tone." Hearing this, the temple elder's cheeks trembled. He silently exchanged the 500,000 gold card gift he had prepared in his pocket for $1 million gold card. Then, a bright smile appeared on his face. While holding Bai Shishi affectionately, while holding the microphone, he walked to the front of the stage and said loudly, "My sons, the first immortal cultivation civilization this year. Birth, boom." The square, which had just quieted down a little, suddenly exploded again. Really? It really is a civilization of cultivating immortals. Wow! That's amazing. Go straight to heaven in one step. God's proud daughter. Bai Shishi could no longer remain calm, and a flush of excitement appeared on her face. Listen to the praises erupting from below. Looking at the astonished glances coming from below. Even the most reserved person, at this moment, I can't help but feel excited. What about a girl who has just reached adulthood? Bai Shishi. Bai Shishi. Bai Shishi. I don't know who took the lead. The crowd began to shout Bai Shishi's name like a tsunami. If they were still envious and jealous before, at the moment, after getting confirmation, all they could do was be respectful. In this world, the strong are respected. It integrates the civilization of cultivating immortals. It is equivalent to entering the ranks of the most powerful people. If you say, the creator is above the common people. So, Xiaoxian civilization, it will be the mountain top that all creators look up to. In addition, Bai Shishi is extremely beautiful and has a tall figure. Invisible bonus points, it makes her as inviolable as a saint, making her out of reach. As usual, Bai Shishi will first be granted a title by the Emperor of Daxia. Afterwards, the 4 vassal states competed for it. They offer a variety of very generous conditions. Not surprisingly. No. There won't be any surprises. Once Bai Shishi chooses to go to one of the vassal states, it will definitely be carefully cultivated like a treasure. Grow into a pillar of the country. Is this the feeling of becoming the most powerful being? There was a hint of intoxication on Bai Shishi's fair face. She enjoys being the center of attention. Enjoy this moment that belongs only to her. She is not some ordinary civilian who has never seen the world. She came from a large family. I have witnessed countless large-scale events and have also been the focus. But it's different from before. After today, her name will spread across the country. She will be received by the Emperor of Daxia. She will be knighted. She will get power, wealth, fame, status, and everything she wants. She will truly become the apple of the family's eye and the family's treasure. She will single-handedly lead the whole family towards glory. Only 90 people, then a civilization of cultivating immortals emerged. So, this year is likely to break the downward trend of the past 2 years, 2 or even more immortal cultivation civilizations were born. This year, it will be the most brilliant year ever. This year, it will also be the most glorious year for our great Xia Empire. The temple elder shouted loudly with an excited look. At the same time, he took out the $1 million gold card he had prepared in his pocket. I plan to wait until the speech is over. In front of thousands of people, he gave it to Bai Shishi as a gift. He is not the creator. But being able to rise to the position of a temple elder as an ordinary person, in addition to family support, most importantly, isn't it just the offering made during the awakening ceremony every year? He gained the favor of the creators of extraordinary civilizations, especially the immortal civilization. With the support of these superiors, his position as an elder will be as stable as a rock. However, halfway through, the temple elders felt something was wrong. The square was so lively just now that he had to shout loudly. Why did it suddenly become so quiet? The elder followed the crowd's gaze. Look at the information screen on one side. Number 88, fusion completed, initial comprehensive rating of the planet, infinite. The temple elder was slightly stunned. If I remember correctly, the planetary environment of planet 88 is judged to be extremely harsh. Normally, it must be a Death Star. It will be directly judged as fusion failure. But, how is it possible that it is rated as unlimited by the system? Is there something wrong with the system? No, won't. Even if the system deviates, it would never be that outrageous. This means that the fused planet number 88, in extremely harsh environments, an extraordinary civilization was born. Even, it is a planet for cultivating immortals. Thinking of this, the elder's expression suddenly changed, revealing a deep fear. Right now, he is like everyone else. Everyone thought of an extremely terrifying legend. Chapter 7. Legend. 100 years ago, the Great Xia Kingdom once had a planet for cultivating immortals with an extremely harsh environment. At that time, the creators are in the initial stage of exploring their own planet. The probe system has not yet appeared. So, no one pays attention to this matter. After decades of development, planet development is gradually maturing. When all the creators discover, when you can only summon 1 or 2 planetary creatures. The creator of the immortal cultivation civilization with an extremely harsh environment, he can actually summon hundreds of immortal cultivators with just a wave of his hand. I don't know why, I don't know why. 100 years later, there are gaps in many things. People only know that man led hundreds of immortal cultivators under his command. A bloody storm broke out in the Great Xia Kingdom, with widespread killing. With the power of one person, he even almost destroyed the 2 major vassal states under the Great Xia Empire. In the face of the cold and the bitter, the other 2 vassal states mobilized their entire nation and all their domestic creators to fight against that devil. It is said that the battle lasted for 10 days and 10 nights. Some people also say, the battle lasted for more than several months. Fight from the south to the north, and then they fought from the west to the east. At last, with the 4 major countries joining forces at all costs, finally, the demon was killed. It was a catastrophe that affected the entire Daxia. The 4 major vassal states suffered heavy losses and were severely damaged. Most of the creators in each country were slaughtered. Almost all the powerful creators of those generations also perished. This directly led to the newly developed era of the creators sliding into a trough. As for the civilians, 9 out of 10 houses are empty. According to statistics, after that war, of the hundreds of millions of people in Daxia, only less than 10 million are left, and nearly 90% have died. After 100 years, the population of Daxia Kingdom finally returned to its former prosperity. The age of the creator is also gradually developing and reaching its previous peak. However, today, 100 years later, unexpectedly, another demon appeared. In an extremely harsh environment, a planet with immortal cultivation civilization was born. Staring at the information on the information screen, and number 88 who is still standing in front of the awakening stone and has not yet woken up. The crowd in the square looked terrified. The temple elders were even more horrified. Unlike the young people below, at most, they had heard legends about the catastrophe from their elders. When he was born, the surviving fathers are still under the shadow of that evil monster. Whenever this matter is discussed, our parents would turn pale at the mention of it. Later, I also used it to scare my younger self. If you don't obey, the devil will come and eat you. Qin Tian broke away from the planetary consciousness and slowly woke up. He has found a host for the parasite. The remaining evolution by absorbing genes was beyond his control. At least, at this stage, he cannot intervene. The creator's planet and the worlds outside, time flows at different speeds. Qin Tian stayed on the planet for more than 10 hours. Only a few minutes passed outside. Flow rate ratio, it is about 6 hours faster than the outside world by about 1 minute. A bit like a myth, it means 1 year on Earth is 1 day in heaven. Only. Qin Tian looked at the scene where one could hear a pin drop. Looking at the dead silence where everyone in the square was staring at him. What's going on? Coming to the stage, Qin Tian glanced downward. Anyone who caught his gaze, they all looked away with an unnatural look. Qin Tian looked at the tall beauty standing next to him again. Bai Shishi trembled all over. I took a step back unconsciously. He lowered his head deeply in panic. From the initial attention to the end, from being the focus of the whole scene to being ignored. Everything, it's just a matter of a moment. But at this moment, Bai Shishi didn't feel the slightest bit of anger or resentment about having her halo taken away from her. Just a throbbing heart. As someone who comes from a large family, she knows more than most. I've even seen related secret records. Although everyone has unlimited ratings and they are all immortal cultivation planets. But there are civilizations that grow up in extremely harsh environments and civilizations that grow up in favorable environments. The two are simply not on the same level. It's like the difference between someone who survives a sea of blood and someone who grows up being loved and cared for. The catastrophe 100 years ago is an example. The creator of the same immortal civilization, in front of that demon, just like an ant, it was crushed and slaughtered at will. When facing the weak, you look down on them. When faced with a strong person, you look up to him. But when you lose even the qualification to look up, all that is left is fear. Qin Tian looked at the temple elder on the side in confusion again. Seeing that the other party also turned his head away and ignored him, he walked off the stage somewhat helplessly. Everyone in the square is looking at you. They all followed Qin Tian closely, staring at his back. Until the other party disappears, the huge square remained quiet for a long time before some sounds gradually came to life. This scene in the Awakening Temple, it was quickly spread. All the major families and forces took action upon hearing the news. They sent people out of the city to find out the news about Qin Tian. The spies of the 4 vassal states in the capital, he even sent a secret letter to his country as soon as possible. In secret, basically there is only one message. 100 years of catastrophe. The devil appears. For a time, the 4 vassal states were shaken nationwide. Chapter 8. As the party who stirred up this storm, at this time, we arrived at the library in the capital. Regarding the undercurrent of the outside world, Qin Tian didn't notice at all. He is not a native of this world. I only lived there for about a year. It is naturally impossible to know these historical secrets. On the bookshelf, Qin Tian found a few books skillfully. They are brief histories of the Great Xia Empire, Zhenbei Kingdom, Jingnan Kingdom, Andong Kingdom, and Pingxi Kingdom. These history books, I have seen it countless times not long after traveling through Qin Tian. Since I came to this world, first of all, we must understand the background of this world. Speaking of which, at the beginning of this world, Qin Tian felt very familiar with it. The original Great Xia Kingdom, it's a bit like the Ming dynasty in our previous life. In order to stabilize the border, the founding emperor appointed his 4 sons as princes and sent them to guard the border. But this is just like the Ming dynasty, this left a huge hidden danger for the empire. Especially with the sudden death of the founding emperor of Daxia, the hidden dangers soon began to emerge. The local feudal lords after the crown prince ascended the throne, he was weak. He couldn't even do what Emperor Jiangwen did to reduce the power of the princes. According to this trend, it won't be long. There will be chaos in the world. A situation of chaos and fighting among the feudal lords emerged. However, I don't know if it's God's favor, just when the entire empire was about to fall apart, a vision from heaven, a meteorite fell on the outskirts of the capital. Someone touched the meteorite. I accidentally discovered that my consciousness was bound to a foreign realm. That is, the planet. It is precisely because more and more people are experiencing this kind of vision, not only did it stabilize the turbulent empire, it has miraculously been passed down through generations. Certainly, Qin Tian couldn't possibly know that this was closely related to the demon who killed everyone 100 years ago. The loss of a large population, the 4 great princes were unable to have any other ideas. At the same time, it also allowed them to see the power of the Creator. So, over the next 100 years, everyone is busy developing and researching exotic planets in their respective fiefdoms and actively recruiting creators. Who cares about the amount of territory outside? Taking a step back, if there are a large number of creators in the country, is it difficult to wipe out all the countries and establish a new nation? However, although the Great Xia Empire was saved, but the momentum of local centralization remains unchanged. Today, the Great Xia Kingdom had long since ceased to exist in name only. The emperor was worshipped as a mascot. On the surface, everyone still cheers for the victory. In fact, there is no real power at all. Even this central imperial city is firmly controlled by the 4 countries. Among the 4 major vassal states, the Zhenbei Kingdom is the largest and most powerful force, and has absorbed and controlled a large number of creators of immortal civilizations, so it is also called the Immortal Cultivation Kingdom. Jingnan State is second. Unable to compete with the powerful Zhenbei Kingdom, there are fewer creators of the immortal civilization, and the main population is composed of creators of the magic civilization, also known as the Magic Kingdom. Andong is the third. It is said that the young prince who succeeded to the throne was awakened to technological civilization, so he had a special liking for technology, and the country absorbed a large number of technological civilization creators. And Pingxi State, first of all, the power is ranked last. Secondly, it is located in the bitter cold of the west, and few people are willing to go there. Therefore, they can only eat the leftovers from the other 3 countries and accept the creator of biological civilization. As usual, after the fusion of the planets is successful, the creator will choose a country. In principle, the 4 countries are treated equally. The creator of every civilization is welcome. But after hundreds of years of development, each country has worked out its own system. The creator usually goes to a country that is suitable for his development. Otherwise, you, the creator of technological civilization, go to Zhenbei country. Could it be that they want the creators of the immortal civilization who rely on spiritual energy to cultivate, to teach you how to guide your own technological planet to build an electromagnetic cannon? So, we can only go to Pingxi country. Qin Tian He Pingxi Kingdom Brief History. According to his idea, of course it would be best if we could integrate with the planet of extraordinary civilization. You can experience the etherealness of the immortal kingdom or the mystery of the magic kingdom. It would be nice if it was a planet that integrated technological civilization. Go to a world you are familiar with. And biological civilization. Although Qin Tian feels that parasites have great potential for development, he can definitely be compared with the creators of the immortal civilization. But before it developed, he still cannot get rid of the label of a weak biological civilization. Moreover, in a short period of time, they are basically unable to compete with those extraordinary civilization creators. Can only be ranked at the bottom. The equally vulnerable biological civilization, he believed that the potential of parasites will soon emerge. It is better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of a phoenix. I have made up my mind. Qin Tian left the library. I returned to the suburbs where I had lived for a year. To his surprise, at this time, there were actually quite a few people gathered outside the house. They were all dressed in finery. You can tell at first glance that he is either rich or noble. Some of them, his every move and gesture showed the bearing of a superior. Also, besides the guards, there are also top-level mounts and transportation tools such as the Golden Magic Spaceship, Sublight-Speed Airship, Golden Unicorn Beast, and 8-winged crane. Standing in the front is a fat man with a big belly. As soon as I saw Qin Tian, he immediately trotted over. So far away, then he called out in a familiar voice, Brother Qin, you are finally back. Who are you? Qin Tian asked as he looked at the middle-aged fat man who ran up to him, out of breath. He didn't know this person. Oh, introduce yourself. I am Fanfiction, the inspector of Zhenbei state stationed in the capital. I came here specifically to invite Brother Qin to join my Zhenbei kingdom. Seeing Qin Tian's doubtful look, Fanfiction patted his chest hurriedly. Very proudly said, you can set the conditions, but if you frown, I lose. At this time, then 3 more people came up. They all clasped their fists and bowed to Qin Tian. I am the Inspector General of Jingnan State in the capital, and I would like to invite Mr. Qin to enter our Jingnan State. I am the Inspector of Andong Country, and I respectfully invite Mr. Qin to join my Andong Country. Pingxi State Inspector, I sincerely invite Mr. Qin to join our Pingxi State. Chapter 9. Indoor. Qin Tian sat in the first seat. Below, the inspectors of the 4 countries sat upright on both sides. In fact, when I met these people, Qin Tian guessed the other party's approximate identity. At least, you can see the country. The century of development in the Creator era has had a profound impact on all countries. The most representative, it is a unified dress developed by each country based on the imitation and evolution of the Creator's civilization planet. Only in the capital city where 4 nations are mixed together, only then will there be different styles of strange costumes. But judging from everyone's external attire, you can also basically see his origin. For example, right now, Fanfiction was wearing a white veil. Even a bloated and fat figure cannot erase that feeling of floating in the air. The inspector of Jingnan State wore a black robe and hood. This is standard in the Magic Kingdom. The inspector of Anton looked much more friendly. Suits and leather shoes, he was wearing a pair of gold-rimmed glasses, and I wasn't sure if it was because he was really nearsighted or just pretending to be cool. The Pingxi people wore a simple long gown. Although the fabric is gorgeous, but it cannot conceal its ancient and decadent atmosphere. This is the native costume inherited from the Great Xia Kingdom. This is also something that the people of Pingxi have always been concerned about. They have developed their own unique style. My own is still the same old, no novelty at all. But there is no way. Don't wear old summer clothes. Do you want to study biological civilization, where the beasts on those planets are naked and eat raw meat and drink blood? Everyone. Qin Tian spoke hesitantly. The 4 countries vied for invitations. Even ordinary extraordinary civilization creators do not receive this treatment. I'm afraid only those planets that have merged to cultivate immortality will enjoy this qualification. It also alarmed the inspectors of the 4 countries and they came in person. This is even more unbelievable. The inspector is similar to the ambassador in the previous life. Responsible for all affairs of the country in the capital. In the past, even if a cultivation civilization was born, they would not have the authority to decide on the affairs of the country. They would only be responsible for the affairs of the country. This is even more unbelievable. The inspector is similar to the ambassador in the previous life. Responsible for all affairs of the country in the capital. the inspectors of various countries merely sent a representative to put forward conditions as a token of their appreciation. After all, the civilization systems of the 4 countries are there. Unless you are a fool, basically, they will go to a country that matches their own civilization. And they are clearly just a Zerg civilization at the bottom of the biological civilization. How could I possibly attract the attention of these 4 big guys? Unless... Qin Tian frowned slightly. Although it seems unlikely, but in addition to his own super god-level creator system being exposed, or they realized the potential of parasites, he couldn't think of any other reason. In any case, it can indeed cause such a big response. If the two are added together, it is no surprise that this scene is happening. Brother Qin, I won't waste any more time. I still say the same thing. You can propose any conditions, and I will agree to them on behalf of the king. Seeing Qin Tian hesitate, Fan Yuxian said immediately. Oh, Master Fan, you are so arrogant, aren't you afraid of slipping your tongue? I want your throne as king of Zhenbei, will you give it to me? The inspector of Jingnan State who was sitting opposite made a sarcastic remark without any hesitation. Then he ignored Fan Yuxian, whose face turned red due to the teasing. Bowing slightly towards Qin Tian, wrote, Mr. Qin, my country Jingnan is more pragmatic. We are not like some people who only talk nonsense. 5 million gold cards plus. Ha ha ha, comparing money. Hearing this, the inspector of Anton State who was sitting below couldn't help but laugh out loud. Talking about wealth, among the 4 major vassal states, if Anton Guo says he is second, no one dares to say he is first. The impact that various new technological devices have brought to this ancient country is no joke. Not to mention that Anton's technological industries are almost everywhere in the capital, and even in every town in the 4 major countries. The subsequent income that Anton country will receive from the detection system that everyone must bind to before awakening is extremely terrifying. Grey, Lord Grey, you have the nerve to say 5 million. You are just treating beggars like a fool. The inspector of Anton laughed contemptuously. Road, Mr. Qin, I have nothing in Andong country, but a lot of money. I have a 50 million gold card and another 1 million in expenses every year. Gold card, it is equivalent to the bank card in the previous life. It is also a technological product of Anton. Developed based on the technological planet of its domestic creator. However, consumption in this world is far less than that in the previous life. The average family's annual consumption is only around 5,000 yuan at most. 50 million, that is equivalent to the annual consumption of 10,000 households. Or, a family can live without worries about food and clothing for 10,000 years. Not to mention the annual expenses of 1 million. Humph, it's only 50 million. Your country, Andong, can afford it, but my country, Jingnan, can't. No matter how much your Jingnan kingdom gives, my Andong kingdom will give 10 times more. In a word, Gray swallowed the next words. Compared with financial resources, his Jingnan kingdom is indeed far from being a match for the Andong kingdom. But then, the following is what the inspector of Andong said. Gray's already ugly expression became even gloomier. In addition, Mr. Qin can choose any place in the most prosperous area of our royal city as his residence. Whether he wants a villa style or an ancient style, high-tech decoration or primitive decoration, it is up to Mr. Qin to choose. Our country will arrange the best top designers to design and build it for you free of charge. The surname is Guo. Gray couldn't listen anymore. He stood up suddenly. Angry, don't go too far. Oh, you're getting impatient already? I haven't finished what I'm saying yet. Guo Wenzu was not afraid at all. The corners of his mouth once again revealed a hint of disdain as if he was rich and powerful. He adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses. He chuckled and said, in addition, there is a sublight-speed airship worth 80 million. You. Oh, by the way, my country Andong is located on the coast, so I will give you a super-luxurious anti-gravity yacht worth 200 million yuan. Gray. Chapter 10. At the very bottom is Fu Wenhai, the inspector of Pingxi State. Watching the quarrel between the two inspectors, his face was uncertain. At this moment, he really wanted to stand up and say something. But, I really don't have the confidence. Say what? Comparing financial resources with others? Everyone knew that he had pacified the bitter cold land of the West, and it was almost common for the national treasury to be in deficit. If you really want to speak, I guess people will die of laughter. But the order given to him by King Pingxi was extremely clear and cruel. Roughly speaking, if you can't win over this guy named Qin Tian, there's no need for you to come back. Just find a river to jump into. He knew the reason. I can understand the king better. Of the two major vassal states that the devil nearly destroyed 100 years ago, one of them was Pingxi state. That battle, the Pingxi kingdom, whose national strength was originally comparable to that of the other three kingdoms and even slightly stronger, has completely fallen to its current state. And now, such a peerless evildoer has unexpectedly appeared. If we win over Pingxi state, once grown up, Pingxi state will instantly become the most powerful state. Even, by his own strength, to pacify the Western Kingdom and annihilate the other three kingdoms, founding of the country, unify Daxia. Such a person, who wouldn't be moved? I am afraid, the other three country inspectors received the same orders as him. Win this person over at all costs. But, a sense of despair welled up in Fu Wenhai's heart. Your Majesty! You never think about it. Given the conditions in our country, how can I compete with the three kingdoms? Everyone, are you? Qin Tian felt that he could no longer remain silent. Just now he asked the system in his mind, the answer is that it is impossible to be discovered. According to the system, using the inferior technology of the exploration system, it is absolutely impossible to detect the super god level system. The detection system is in front of it, just like a mayfly is smaller than the stars. So, it's not a leak. That is a misunderstanding. But as soon as he opened his mouth, he was interrupted by Gray, who was furious and waved his hand. Mr. Qin, you don't need to say more. Although our country's financial strength is not as good as that of Andong, Mr. Qin can use the money in the treasury at will and squander it at will. Let alone tens of millions, what about billions or hundreds of billions? Our Jingnan country can use the whole country's strength to ensure that Mr. Qin enjoys wealth and prosperity. Humph! Ignorance! At this time, Fan Yuxian finally recovered. Hearing this, he snorted coldly, money is just a thing outside of one's body. What's the use of having more? A healthy body is the foundation of one's life. The elixir refined by our Zhenbei country can prolong one's life. Haha, what do I think it is? It just increases my lifespan. Guo Wenzel heard this, the smile on his face became even happier. Unfortunately, my country Anton has just developed a genetic drug that can increase lifespan by 10 years based on a planet with a genetic civilization. In time, it won't be a problem to develop genetic drugs that can increase life expectancy by 100 years, or even longer. As soon as these words came out, this immediately made the inspectors of the other three countries change color. Certainly, what shocked them at the moment was not that they had obtained this important confidential information that was enough to cause a shock. Rather, with this conditional attraction, they will completely lose the qualifications to compete with Anton. Especially seeing Qin Tian's moved expression, it made them despair to the extreme. If they fail to win over this person, not only will they lose their heads, but their families may also be implicated and exterminated by the enraged king. After all, this matter is of huge importance. Whoever can get this person can unify Daxia. Atmosphere, I was immersed in it all at once. A long time, Fu Wenhai remained silent. Gritting my teeth, stand up suddenly. Wait a minute, judging from Mr. Qin's age, he must be unmarried, right? Fu Wenhai looked at Qin Tian. The meaning of the words, he almost said directly, Lao Qin, do you want a wife or not? Without waiting for Qin Tian to speak, Fu Wenhai said first, my king has no children, but he has an only daughter whom he cherishes. My king has already instructed me that if Mr. Qin is willing to marry into the Pingxi kingdom, he can be granted a county horse, marry the princess, and inherit the throne. Then, Qin Tian, the inspector of the three kingdoms. Fu Wenhai didn't say anything else. But the following words, how could everyone not understand? Especially the inspector of the three kingdoms, they can better understand the deeper meaning. By then, the lewd Western nation's Summer the crown prince then became the successor to the throne. 100 years after the new emperor, you, the next emperor. Call. Fu Wenhai heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Now that we have come to this, he believed that Qin Tian would definitely have no other thoughts and would definitely join Pingxi kingdom. No one can resist the temptation of that position. What's the point of your Anton country's genetic medicine? After unifying Daxia, the creators of all civilizations became its subjects. The creator of science and technology has developed a life-extending gene drug. What's the difficulty? Of course. In fact, the king of Pingxi did not grant the marriage. It was Fu Wenhai who took the initiative to sell the king's precious princess. But, if Qin Tian is won over, your majesty, his old man, you shouldn't mind, right? Probably you won't mind. After all, just a woman, how can it be compared with the eternal hegemony? Chapter 11. The atmosphere in the room became tense again. The other three inspectors had flickering eyes and hesitant expressions. They are all old foxes. How could he not know that Fu Wenhai was falsely conveying the king's orders? According to their understanding, the king of Pingxi who had a daughter when he was over 60 years old, he would never be willing to marry off his precious princess easily. If in the past, they don't mind following suit. Let's trick them back first. Once you get there, it's no longer up to you to decide whether to get married or not. But they didn't dare to do that to the former devil in front of them. If you regret the marriage, it is bound to make the other party angry and embarrassed. If I fail to win you over, I won't tell you. It will also create a mortal enemy who can massacre the city and destroy the country. After a little struggle, Fan Yuxian gritted his teeth and spoke first. To be honest, my king also has this intention. Princess Chongping is of marriageable age, so you can grant her a county horse to Mr. Qin and let him inherit the throne. Seeing that Fan Yuxian was determined to give it his all. As for the remaining Gray and Guo Wenzu, there was nothing to worry about. Immediately they said, my king has already issued an order to grant Mr. Qin a county horse and make him the heir to the throne. My king has also issued an order to grant Mr. Qin a county horse and to inherit the title of crown prince. You dare to sell the princess? Why shouldn't I dare? Anyway, sticking your head out will lead to a knife. Shrinking your head is also a knife. Death is the only way. Might as well give it a try. Everyone, I think you may have made a mistake. Qin Tian was a little helpless and wanted to explain. But before he finished speaking, he was interrupted again by the impatient Gray. Mr. Qin, no, Lord County Horse, you don't need to say anything. Come to my Jingnan country, and you will be second to none in an instant. My lord, if you join our country of Andong, you will not only have endless wealth to spend, but also endless life. Sir, come to my Zhenbei kingdom. You will also have endless wealth and endless life. If you want anything else, just ask. Think about the fairy-like environment and the cranes that can take you to travel in the sky. Oh, by the way, my king also said that as long as you are willing to come, my king will reward you with the kunpeng that senior brother Zhang just summoned from the planet as a mount. What do you think? Fan Yuxian sold kunpeng, the genius of Zhenbei kingdom, without thinking twice. The princess has sold them all. It doesn't matter whether you are born with talent or not. I pacify the Western Kingdom. Fu Wenhai opened his mouth. I found that everything was so pale and powerless. He risked his life to sell out the princess, and finally gained an absolute advantage for the Pingxi Kingdom. But I didn't expect that these three bastards are more shameless than each other. In the blink of an eye, not only did he sell out his own princess, he even fawned and grovelled and called him the prince of the county in advance. What a bunch of scumbags! Shameless people! The key point is that this will bring the competition among the four countries back to the same level. Except for the princess and the prince. People can also give money, give me the elixir, give genetic drugs, even to the immortal beast Kunpeng. What do you give yourself? Would you like a wild beast as a mount? May I ask, my lord, what planet is being fused? Fu Wenhai asked weakly. This was the only possible opportunity he could think of. Although the chances are extremely slim. But we can only hope that Qin Tian will integrate biological civilization. Yes. Everything else is external. The best way is to go to a country that suits you. Fan Yuxian slapped his forehead. I secretly hated myself for forgetting this. If you had confirmed it earlier, he didn't have to argue with the other three for so long. Planet with unlimited ratings, they are generally immortal cultivation civilizations. The creator of Xiaoxian civilization, they will definitely choose to go to Zhenbei country for better development. At the moment, Fan Yuxian immediately asked, may I ask if the one you merged with, Master, is the spiritual planet? Qin Tian shook his head. No. When Gray saw this, his dim eyes suddenly brightened. If it is a spiritual planet, his Jingnan kingdom would definitely not be able to compete with the Zhenbei kingdom. If it is other extraordinary civilizations, I will definitely go to Jingnan kingdom. Jingnan kingdom is just a magical civilization. There are also a large number of other extraordinary civilizations with their own systems. Magic planet? Gray asked cautiously. It's not a super civilization. Qin Tian shook his head again. It can't be a technological civilization, right? Now it was Guo Wenzu's turn to be shocked. If it is a technological civilization, Qin Tian had no choice. Technological civilization is not like other civilizations. There is no such system in this country. You can also find an experienced creator of the same kind to teach you. The particularity of technology, destined to go to Andong country. It's not a technological civilization either. Well. Fu Wenhai was stunned. It seems a bit slow to react. He was already thinking about which river to jump into. Only then can you die more comfortably. But I didn't expect that the surprise came so suddenly. So much so that he didn't know what to do for a moment. Ha 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 ha. May God have mercy on us, may God bless us. Biological civilization. It's actually biological civilization. After a moment's pause, Fu Wenhai jumped up suddenly. Shouting without caring about his image at all. It took a while to calm down the excitement. He walked quickly to Qin Tian. Grabbed Qin Tian's hand, excitedly said, "My lord, is it the Warcraft planet?" The Warcraft planet is the most powerful type of biological civilization. Our country? No. The winged planet is not bad either. No. Seeing Qin Tian kept shaking his head, Fu Wenhai frowned slightly. Hesitantly said, "Ocean planet. Barbarian beast. Not yet. Isn't it a plant planet? It's a Zerg planet." Qin Tian said. Fu Wenhai. Chapter 12. Fu Wenhai let go of Qin Tian's hand. He sighed slightly and returned to his seat. The other three straightened their clothes, sat down and straightened their backs. In the blink of an eye, the flattery on their faces just now disappeared. Instead, it is the dignity and solemnity of being a special envoy of a country. Boy, why didn't you say so earlier? Are you kidding me? This is outrageous. The three of them shouted. I felt both ashamed and angry. As long as Qin Tian awakens a normal biological civilization planet, they certainly wouldn't do that. For example, a Warcraft planet. Like the demon 100 years ago, summoning hundreds of monsters with a wave of his hand, it is completely comparable to an extraordinary civilization creator of the same level. Even if it's a nearly barbaric beast planet, a few hundred of them can be considered an army of wild beasts. Can. It's a bug. What's the point of summoning more insects? Are you trying to scare people? Not to mention 100, so what if there are thousands or tens of thousands of them? Any wild beast could crush it. Many ants bite elephants to death. The elephant that was bitten must be a dead elephant. And these four are the inspectors of a country, but for such an inferior civilization planet that is not even as good as the beast planet. It's another competition of financial strength. He falsely claimed the king's order to sell his own princess. Finally, he even calls him the prince with a flattering face. He is as shameless as a clown. But while feeling ashamed and angry, including Fu Wenhai, the four of them couldn't help but feel fortunate. If Qin Tian really awakened to a supernatural civilization, in the end, no matter who wins the first place, the remaining three would surely be executed by the furious king. At the moment, it is also the best outcome. Everyone, Fan has something important to attend to, so I'll take my leave now. Fan Yuxian clasped his fists and stood up to leave first. The other three did not linger any longer and followed. Outdoors, a large crowd had already gathered by this time. These people are dressed in gorgeous clothes. They were all the leaders of the major families of the four countries in the capital who had rushed to the capital after hearing the news. Some, the head of the family came in person. Some had several carriages parked behind them. Some were carrying several suitcases. The carriage was filled with all kinds of rare treasures. Inside the suitcase were hundreds of millions of dollars in gold cards. Everyone is looking forward to it and waiting anxiously. Whenever a powerful civilization creator appears. Above, it is a contest between four major countries. Below, it is a competition between major families. After the four nations decided the winner, it is time for the big families in the country to take action. Who can win over a strong man? Whoever's family has more power and influence will have a stronger one. After waiting for a long time, finally, Fan Yuxian's figure appeared at the door of the shed. An old man with a cane saw it. He hurriedly went forward with the help of the servants beside him. Master Fan, what's going on? Is it that our Zhenbei kingdom has obtained this person? The old man asked nervously. He is the head of an upper middle-sized family in Zhenbei country. Hearing the news, he was the first to arrive. For this matter, he was almost prepared to spend all his family wealth. Unlike in the past, even if one won over a creator of an immortal civilization, it would only increase the family's prestige. Today, this is the moment that determines the fate of the family. A figure like the demon from 100 years ago appeared. One country gets it. It can wipe out all the countries and unify Daxia. One family gets it. Then the tide will rise and all boats will rise, and the clan will become a top-level powerful clan. After Kaiwan, even with this person, he was ranked among the 9 ministers and was granted a title of nobility and appointed as prime minister. This is a once-in-a-century opportunity. No. Fan Yuxian said unhappily. How could it be? The old man was stunned on the spot. Upon hearing this, the other big families from various countries behind him all breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Not obtained by Zhenbeiguo, it means they still have a chance. Since we can become a big family, we are not fools. The logic behind this is naturally clear to everyone. But, as the inspectors from the other 3 countries came out one after another, see the gloomy look on their faces. The joy on everyone's faces gradually disappeared. Oh, a mere insect civilization creator is worthy of all your efforts to mobilize so many troops, it's really ridiculous, ha 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 ha. Fan Yuxian laughed and left. Maybe he was making fun of himself. Or maybe I really think it's ridiculous. After a long time of fussing, it's a complete joke. What a shame, what a shame. The old man shook his head slightly, turned around and got on the carriage. The rest of the people, they all left with a hint of regret. Indoor. Qin Tian didn't feel disappointed at all for being left out. On the contrary, like the inspectors of the 4 countries, feeling a little fortunate. They were glad that they were merging with the Zerg civilization, which they looked down upon. There is no free lunch in the world. How much good have you gained today? It means how much you will pay tomorrow. It has been like this since ancient times. Especially the game between big countries. Caught in the middle, there will definitely be a lot of trouble. But, Qin Tian obviously thought this matter was too simple. I don't know the inside story of history. Naturally, it is impossible to delve into the serious aspects. If he were to fuse the extraordinary civilization today, select one of the countries. The other 3 countries, how can I be willing? How can I wait until you grow up and destroy your own country? From now on, he will inevitably face endless assassinations from the other 3 countries. Calm down. Qin Tian puts consciousness into the planet. A few hours outside, several months have passed on the planet. Nearly 100 flame-eating gold bugs had already been reduced to ashes. And the entire parasite territory, there have also been earth-shaking changes. Chapter 13. In the restricted area, originally there were 18 parasites, it has grown to a scale of several thousand heads. Where the eye is, it was filled with dense red waves. It was a parasitic war bug that had only undergone the first generation of evolution. Its appearance is like a flame-eating gold-eating bug that has been shrunk countless times and is only 1 meter tall. But unlike the original flame gold eater, in front of his head, evolved into a sharp horn spike. They go in and out, messy but not chaotic. Some returned with the remains of unknown insects in their mouths. Some are going out in groups to look for prey. In the middle of the territory, the queen of these parasites lies there. She is also the queen mother of the entire tribe. The queen mother hasn't changed much and is pretty much the same as the original worm. But it was magnified countless times. The entire body is more than 10 meters long. Looking from afar, like a giant python. The queen has a head at the front for eating. All that was left was a fat belly. As the leader of the group, in addition to commanding the species, the greatest responsibility, its breeding. As Qin Tian was paying attention to this moment, the queen mother's fat tail, it has laid more than a dozen half-meter-high insect eggs. The reproductive capacity is amazing. At the queen mother's side, hundreds of insects with countless limbs and shaped like wash basins gathered together. Some of the prey brought back by the war bugs were sorted. Some are feeding the queen mother, some were dragging some prey into a sloping pit nearby. More of them came in groups of 3 or 5, carrying insect eggs into another pit. Qin Tian put his consciousness down, the potholes are not deep, nor are they complicated. At the beginning, he transmitted only one message of will to the parasite. Breed with all your strength. He has designated this area as a restricted area. Naturally, he didn't want the parasites to waste their time on meaningless tasks such as nesting. The bottoms of the two pits are connected. One place was filled with densely packed insect eggs, thousands of them. In the other place, there are larvae, also numbering thousands. Some have just hatched and their bodies are still soft and white. Some of the carapaces have begun to turn red and harden. These two simple pits were opened separately. This is probably to better protect the eggs and larvae from being burned by the high temperature outside. Leave the nest, Qin Tian came to the periphery of the penalty area. At the bank of a lava river hundreds of meters away from the restricted area, a group of war bugs are hunting a giant crab that is more than 3 meters tall. The war bugs are divided into two teams, front and back. One team is in front and is responsible for attraction. Another team took the opportunity to rush forward, spewing out a small stream of high-temperature flame to burn the crab's shell. When Cancer feels the pain and turns around, the team that was previously responsible for attracting the opponent immediately lowered their heads and started to sprint. Using the spikes on their heads, it slammed hard into the crab's shell that had been softened by the burns. Even so, under Qin Tian's watchful eyes, this group of war insects charged for more than 10 rounds before breaking through the crab's defense and hunting it down. Weak. Too weak. Qin Tian shook his head. Even though these war bugs showed an extremely rare wolf-like sense of cooperation, even if the opponent is several times larger than them. But Qin Tian was still not satisfied. Very dissatisfied. Explore the fastest species on the planet. Explore the most powerful attacking species on the planet. Explore the most responsive species on the planet. Under a series of orders from Qin Tian, the light curtain flashed continuously. Between a few breaths, the system is in 10 million species, nearly 1 million species with top advantages and special abilities in various aspects have been screened out. The next moment, Qin Tian's will is like the thousands of rays of light from the sun. It descended upon the territories of these species at the same time. As the creator, as the god of this planet, you can do whatever you want. But, this time, Qin Tian was not as crazy and urgent as the previous flame gold devouring bug. He just asked the group of people to rush to the restricted area while ensuring safety. After all, these species are only strong in one aspect, but weak overall. Plus the distance is too far, some are almost on the other side of the planet. In this large-scale group migration, if you let it run wildly at all costs, it is estimated that most of them will be devoured by other insect swarms along the way. At the same time, Qin Tian conveyed her intention to suspend reproduction to the Queen Mother in the restricted area. After doing all this, Qin Tian called out the system. First, name the planets according to the rules. There is nothing to hesitate about the planet name. Simply named Mars. There is volcanic lava everywhere, literally. Planet name, Mars civilized race, parasitic Zerg evolutionary stage, first generation evolution number of species, 5048 auxiliary function, super god level deduction. Parasite war bug level, first generation evolution body type, 1m combat power, 135 points quantity, 4015 abilities, none. After selecting the main civilization race, the corresponding data information is updated on the interface. The evolutionary body is an index to measure the evolution of a biological civilization race. The judging criteria are, the combat power of the next generation of a population is at least twice that of the previous generation. First reproduction, let the parasite be directly judged as a first-generation evolutionary body. But as Qin Tian lamented before, still too weak. Even if the combat power value is increased by 100 times compared to the original body, it still cannot change the initial weakness. You know, the primitive combat power of other biological civilizations, it can reach thousands or even tens of thousands. But Qin Tian didn't care. This is just the first generation. Without the problem of biological civilization evolving by chance, a parasitic war bug that evolved from the advantages of millions of species on the entire planet. Each generation, their combat effectiveness will inevitably soar exponentially. Back to the outside world, simply pack your luggage. Qin Tian then came to the Creator Recruitment Office of Pingxi State in the capital. According to the original plan, he finally chose Pingxi Kingdom. Only by joining a country, only the creator will enjoy the most basic living security and salary treatment. Also, most importantly, you will have a platform and opportunity to achieve higher development. For example, title. Chapter 14. The creator who settled in Pingxi country, they will be uniformly arranged in the 5 major cities in the country. They are, the Royal City, the Immortal Execution City, the Demon Slaying City, the Alien Destroying City and the Linen City. The names of the 3 cities are all appropriate. Correspondingly, they are the 3 major countries today. Although it is a bit unrealistic and even ridiculous. But it also represents the lifelong wish of King Pingxi to unify Daxia. Except that the Royal City has more stringent requirements, the 3 powerful civilization creators in biological civilization, such as Warcraft, Winged People and Ocean, will all be assigned to these 3 cities. Linen City, located at the easternmost end, it is the gathering place of weak creators below the barbarian civilization. As a Zerg civilization, Qin Tian was assigned to Linen City without any surprise. There are 3 major academies in the city, savage beasts, plants, and Zerg. Under each college, there are many branches. Dear students, welcome to the 8th branch of the Zerg in Linen City. I am the instructor of this session. My last name is Su, and my name is Su Jian. I am the creator of the Ice Crystal Giant Scorpion civilization. On the podium, a muscular middle-aged man is introducing himself. He looked at the young faces below, a hint of relief appeared on his slightly rough face. Compared with previous years, this year is the most prosperous year. In our 8th branch alone, there are 308 creators assigned. There are many powerful races among them. For example, Student Liu's ghost-faced mantis. And there is also the golden unicorn beetle of Student Zhao. Perhaps there will be some completely new and unknown insect species that have not been included this year. Everyone says that our Zerg civilization is weak and has no potential for development. But I don't think so. No civilization is inherently inferior, and no civilization is inherently limited in its potential. Low class, they are a group that has not yet discovered their unlimited potential. Limitations, perhaps arbitrarily devouring a species will break the shackles of potential. So, fellow students, don't be discouraged by the desire to merge with the Zerg planetary civilization, and don't become decadent because of it. Because there are no weak civilizations, only weak creators. As soon as these words came out, it immediately aroused strong resonance among the students. Even some people who seemed a little depressed couldn't help but nod their heads repeatedly. Ha ha ha, that's right, my fate is in my own hands. The instructor is right. There is no civilization that is inherently weak. As long as you work hard, everything is possible. Looking at a group of people who have regained the energy and spirit that young people should have, Su Jian couldn't help but smile. Then, he stretched out his hand and pressed it, signaling everyone to be quiet. Okay, let's get back to the point. I'm sure you all know the rules of the branch, but I still have to remind you. In 3 days, there will be the first test. This concerns our future. Please take it seriously and work hard to build your own planetary civilization. When the students heard this, Feng Kang's emotions immediately cooled down. Most people looked worried. The preliminary examination is the first assessment of the college. In simple terms, it is to identify the strengths and weaknesses of each creator civilization race through actual combat. After all, some unknown insects appear every year. Finally, according to the results, to distinguish elite schools from ordinary schools. Once you enter the elite school, not only will they receive special care and resource allocation from the college, but they will also receive higher salaries. It will also directly affect your future official career. After the creator graduated from the academy, they are usually assigned to serve in various government offices across the country. People who come out of elite schools will basically be entrusted with important positions. There are too many people this year. According to previous year's practice, we will have to eliminate at least 3 rounds of candidates in this year's preliminary examination. 3 rounds is enough. You are a sand scorpion ranked in the top 20. You can definitely enter the elite academy. The first round should be fine, but I'm afraid we'll run into a stronger race in the next 2 rounds. That's stronger than me. I'm really in trouble. No one can defeat the weakest demonized flying ant in the Zerg civilization. Don't be discouraged. Maybe. Well. On the podium, Instructor Su once again interrupted the noisy discussion below. Opening his mouth, now we will start distributing teaching materials. Everyone can first understand the characteristics of the major Zerg civilizations. The so-called teaching materials, in fact, it is the information of various Zerg collected over the years. Then rank them according to strength. To put it bluntly, it is an encyclopedia that brings together many Zerg species. Qin Tian, who was sitting in the back row, took the textbook. Start checking. When he opened the first page, he was stunned and thought he was dazzled. When he turned to the second page, he frowned slightly, his face full of confusion. When he turned to the third page, he couldn't help it and raised his hand. Report. What's wrong with this student? Instructor Su came over and asked. My textbook seems to be wrong. Wrong. Instructor Su picked up the book and looked at the title. Flipping through a few more pages, that's right, student, what do you mean? Okay, I made a mistake. Qin Tian seemed to understand something and did not ask any more questions. After a while, he looked speechlessly at the textbook titled 10,000 Insects book in his hand again. Ghost Face Mantis rank, 1 size, 50 cm combat power, 58, original body, features, flying insect, short distance jumping, sharp forelimbs. Golden Beetle rank, 2 size, 46 cm combat power, 52, original body, features, flying insects, powerful, hard shell. Tiger Wolf Spider rank, 3 size, 40 cm combat power, 48, original body, features, spits spider webs, moves quickly, and has paralyzing and poisonous properties. What is all this? Qin Tian looked at the Zerg in the textbook whose size was measured in centimeters and whose combat power was even more horrible. I was completely confused. This year, he basically knew about the more powerful civilizations among the 3 major civilizations. Little is known about Zerg civilization. But according to his guess, in addition, there are the Zerg on their own planet as references. I thought, no matter how weak the Zerg civilization is, there is a limit to its potential. At least it won't deviate from the category of monster. But this encyclopedia in front of me, this perception was completely overturned. Qin Tian put down the textbook. No wonder people look down on Zerg civilization. It is no wonder that the envoys of the 4 countries reacted so strongly when they learned that they were merging with a Zerg planet. Because, in everyone's perception, Zerg civilization. They are really just some slightly larger bugs. Chapter 15. After the show, Qin Tian returned to the assigned dormitory. Sink your consciousness into the planet. In the restricted area. The evolution of the entire parasitic insect civilization is proceeding in an orderly manner. Among the millions of hosts previously selected, dozens of tribes that were closer had already arrived. Under the will of Qin Tian, the tribes that arrived did not resist, nor did they dare to resist. Even some flying tribes, all of them fell to the ground obediently, allowing them to be slaughtered by parasitic war bugs that are far weaker than them. After the first generation of evolution, have a more advanced system. There is no need to parasitize like the original body, just swallow it. Special organs in the body will automatically separate and absorb the superior genes of other organisms and integrate them into the next generation of gene chains. Qin Tian first patrolled inside and outside the penalty area. Then he returned to the sky above the Queen Mother. Conveys the will of evolution and reproduction. A few days passed. The Queen Mother began to lay eggs. 1 month later, the first batch of adults began to crawl out of the nest one after another. The appearance of this batch of war insects, compared with the first generation, there have been earth-shaking changes again. They are small in size. It's only about 1 foot in front and behind. But underneath its body there are 6 long limbs that are as sharp as bayonets. Support it. It is 5 meters high. Its entire body is covered with a layer of hard, pitch-black carapace like keratin spikes. This is the Queen Mother's instinct. The strongest war bug evolved from combining dozens of superior genes such as speed, defense, and attack. Qin Tian named it the killer. They, born to kill. This is exactly the case. Because as soon as these war bugs appeared, it immediately pounced on the first generation of war bugs. Even though those war insects had risked their lives to provide food for them when they went out hunting. The Zerg have no emotions, let alone mercy. In their humble wisdom, only the continuation of the entire race. The birth of this generation of stronger war bugs, it indicates that the previous generation is destined to be eliminated. The end of elimination, they can only become food for the survival of the tribe. Although there is Qin Tian, the creator, parasites don't have a food crisis. But, this is an instinct buried in our genetic sequence. The killing lasted for half an hour. In addition to more than 1,000 camel-carrying worms, the remaining 4,000 odd first-generation war bugs were all slaughtered. The red tide in the restricted area, replaced by patches of darkness. Planet name, Mars civilized race, parasitic Zerg evolution stage, 2nd generation evolution population size, 2006 auxiliary function, super god level deduction. Killer war bug level, 2nd generation evolution body type, 5M combat power, 980 points quantity, 500 abilities, none. The 2nd generation of war bugs is not as powerful as the 1st generation. But it also soared nearly 10 times. But the 10-fold increase in combat power, the evolution index did not double accordingly. Just went up a notch. The system's logical criteria for judgment are, the next generation's combat power is more than twice that of the previous generation. So, one reproduction, no matter whether it is twice, 10 times or 100 times. They will only be counted once. However, with a combat power of nearly 1,000, for the initial test, it's really more than enough. It almost made Qin Tian feel humiliated. In the spectrum of insects, even the number 1 ranked ghost-faced mantis has a combat power of no more than 100. Even after 2 generations of evolution, it is also far from comparable to the killer war bug. Both, they are not on the same level at all. In fact, after seeing the true face of the Zerg civilization, Qin Tian had a vague guess. Tens of millions of species migrated from the system, perhaps it is not just an ordinary insect selected at random. Not to mention the flaming gold-eating bugs that are as big as a hill, even the weakest rockworms are as big as millstones, like monsters. And, in the original planet, they should have evolved to a certain extent. Even the limit, after all, only when you evolve to the limit, it has a very perfect internal structure. Only in this way can they survive in such a harsh dead planet where no life can evolve. So, every species on their planet, it is very likely that they are the dominant group standing at the top of the food chain pyramid on each planet. 10 million species, he is the ruler of 10 million planets. Now, they all gathered on his own Mars. However, he picked and chose these former rulers of the planet to evolve parasites. His Qin Tian couldn't help but shudder. Suddenly, he felt that he so luxurious. Chapter 16. The day of the first test. In the 8th branch of the Zerg, after 3 years of development on the outside world's 3-day planet, the new generation of creators gathered together again. As everyone guessed, there are 3 rounds of preliminary examinations. Implement elimination system. In the first round, 308 people competed in pairs. The winner advances to the next round. The final 77 people were selected to enter the elite school. Under the leadership of Instructor Su. On the projection screen in front of the stage, start by randomly selecting the names of 2 opponents. Soon, matching is complete. The Blood Beetle tribe under Feng Le versus the One-Horned Golden Beetle tribe under Zhao Wenbo. First battle, they are 2 beetles. Hat, Feng Le is done for. He actually ran into a golden-horned beetle. He is really unlucky. The golden scarab is the 2nd-ranked species. His blood beetle can't even make it into the top 50. The gap is too big, they are not even on the same level. Amid the crowd's gloating, the 2 men stood up. Feng Le looked gloomy. Zhao Wenbo was relaxed and carefree. Arriving at the battle arena, the 2 placed their palms into the grooves of the instrument in front of them and integrated it into their consciousness. Below, everyone looked at the projection screen at the same time. The battle between the 2 sides, it will be played in real time on the light screen. After a while, a vast plain appeared in the picture. At both ends of the plain, 2 space cracks are gradually opening. Feng Li's consciousness first floated out from one of the cracks. Behind him, followed by a large group of insects flying in the air. These bugs are only the size of a fist. But the shell was scarlet, and when it fell to the ground it looked like a blood-red ocean. After a while, Zhao Wenbo's consciousness and a number of beetles as big as wash basins appeared in the crack at the other end. In the sun, their carapaces reflect a metallic luster. The several-inch-long sharp spikes extending from the front of its head were flashing with cold light. There are not many of these golden beetles. There are less than 100. The initial test has a combat power limit of 10,000 points. Is equivalent to, the combat power of each golden horned beetle is over 100. In the spectrum of insects, the original combat power of the golden unicorn beetle is only over 50 points. That is to say, this group of golden horned beetles have evolved a generation. And that group of blood beetles should also be the first generation of evolution, the number is around 500. The single combat power is only about 20. The gap between the two sides is quite big. When everything is ready, under the will of the two large swarms of insects flapped their wings, making humming sounds and rushed towards each other. Result: there is no suspense. It was almost a one-sided massacre. In front of the golden scarab, the blood beetle was as tiny as an ant and was knocked away and pierced. There were heavy casualties as soon as they came into contact. The remaining blood beetles couldn't even bite the other's shell. Eventually they were slaughtered one by one. The whole process, it only lasted a few minutes. Zhao Wenbo wins. Instructor Su announced the results of the battle. Next game, the Sand Scorpion tribe under Li Weiran versus the Blue Spot Insect tribe under Wang Lu. Li Weiran wins. The Giant Jaw Ants under Tang Yui versus the Fanged Spiders under Puji. Puji wins. The battle is proceeding quickly. Both sides basically maintained a wave-by-wave melee rhythm. As a result, it often only takes a few minutes to decide the winner. Some who knew they were no match for the enemy simply chose to surrender. Back row position, Qin Tian looked at the so-called battle in the light screen. I really can't muster much interest. A group of slightly larger insects swarmed over, almost like child's play. He just wanted to end this farce quickly. Another half hour passed. Finally, in Qin Tian's thousands of thoughts and hopes, my name appeared on the screen. Qin Tian's parasite Zerg vs Xiang Hanlan's tiger-spotted wolf spiders. Hey, the third-ranked tiger-spotted wolf spider finally showed up. With this in mind, all the top 20 races have appeared this year. As soon as the battle information came out, the rest of the people immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Without the threat of powerful races, this is naturally good news for those who have not yet played. I don't think I've ever heard of this parasite. Is it a new species? Someone quickly turned their attention to the tiger-spotted wolf spider's opponent. Judging from the name, it must be a kind of parasitic worm. Worms, they seem to be the lowest-ranked insects. They have almost no fighting power. Tisk tisk, the gap between the two is even bigger than that between Feng Li and Zhao Wenbo in the first match. If nothing unexpected happens, the other party will admit defeat directly. Nonsense, how can we fight like this? Anyone who is not a fool will definitely surrender directly. As the crowd whispered, in the middle of the school, a fat man weighing more than 200 pounds slowly stood up. He showed no sign of joy. Instead, a trace of deep regret appeared on his fat face. I wanted to shock everyone and show off my talent. I didn't expect to meet such a weak opponent. Pity. No chance to show my face. Xiang Hanlan shook his head helplessly and did not rush to go on stage. Obviously, he is like everyone else, waiting for Qin Tian to admit defeat. Can't fight. There's really no way to fight. The two of them are simply a showdown between the strongest and the weakest. Just as everyone was sighing. But suddenly found that the one they were waiting for to surrender, he actually stood up and walked towards the battle stage. Chapter 17. Inside the school. Everyone looked at Qin Tian in astonishment as he walked straight onto the stage. Does he really have the courage? Some people always hope for a miracle to happen. How can there be so many miracles? It's such a waste of time. A group of people were talking at once. In the past, many people who knew they could not win would give up early. But now such a weird thing happened. Such a big gap, is there any need to fight? Like everyone else, Xiang Hanlan was stunned. Do you really dare to go on stage? He actually went on stage? Come back to your senses. Xiang Hanlan was not dissatisfied at all, but instead showed a hint of ecstasy. Then he shook his fat body and ran towards the fighting stage impatiently. Sitting down in the seat in front of the stage, Xiang Hanlan didn't even look at Qin Tian. Immediately place your palm inside the instrument and sink into consciousness. As if he was afraid that the other party would just say, I don't want to fight anymore, I give up. On an open plain, Xiang Hanlan's equally fat consciousness body was suspended in the air. Below, 50 tiger-spotted wolf spiders crawled on the ground, making bursts of shrill buzzing sounds. These tiger-spotted wolf spiders, each one is 1 meter in size. The two jaws protruding from the mouth are like two sharp sickles. The gaps between the dense hair covering the whole body, the tiger stripes that were supposed to be light yellow have turned into dark gold. 8 limbs, also covered with golden tiger stripes, stretched out. From a distance, they look like ferocious beasts ready to attack. Xiang Hanlan raised his head. Squint your eyes. took a deep breath of non-existent air. On the transparent and pale round cheeks, a very clear feeling of intoxication and enjoyment emerged. At this moment, he seemed to be able to feel the shock erupting from the students in the school outside. Because, whether it is the number of tiger-spotted wolf spiders, or its physical characteristics, it can be easily seen that this is a sign of evolution to the second generation. A second generation evolved form with a combat power of nearly 200. In just 3 years, the planet evolved into 2 generations. Not to mention this year, there have always been very few in previous years. What's more, it is a powerful species ranked 3rd among Zerg civilization. Being shortlisted for the elite school is a sure thing. And not surprisingly, it can definitely hold the first place in the internal ranking of elite schools. But, compared with being announced silently by the instructor, show off in public in front of more than 300 people in the preliminary exam. Refreshing feeling, always different. Inside the school. Just as Xiong Hanlin expected, the whole thing exploded. The second generation evolution. How did he do it? The key is the 3rd ranked tiger-spotted wolf spider. The last genius in our branch who evolved his species to the second generation in the first test was probably 5 years ago. That person's Zerg seemed to be ranked only 10th, but it was said that he later soared to the top and was even granted a title. Oh my god, is it possible that our Zerg 8th branch is going to produce another genius after 5 years? It's true, you can't judge a person by his appearance. A group of students stared at the ugly fat man in front of the stage, shocked beyond words. In the first attempt to advance the civilization of one's race, it's nothing. At least it is more common for Zerg civilization. But after 2 generations of evolution, add a prefix of a powerful race that ranks high. Looking back at the 8th Zerg branch over the years, no, there are very few of them in the entire Zerg Academy. At this time, some girls had countless little stars in their eyes. It seems at this moment, the fat on the fat man's body that had previously made them feel disgusted suddenly became much more pleasing to the eye. Su Jian, who was sitting on the side, it is also difficult to hide the excitement in my heart. If it weren't for the sake of maintaining his image, he would have really wanted to laugh out loud at this moment. The previous instructor of the Zerg 8th branch, it was thanks to that genius that he was able to rise to the top. First, he was promoted to vice president of the Zerg Academy. Later, he went a step further and became the dean. Until today, he still holds the position of dean of the Zerg Academy. After he took over the position of instructor of the 8th branch, who wouldn't want to emulate it? But, this wait, that's 5 years. Just when he lost hope, I didn't expect this person to appear so suddenly. And his qualifications are even more outstanding and amazing. Future achievements, definitely better than the genius from 5 years ago. As an instructor, the value will inevitably rise. Even, he directly replaced the dean who had always disliked him. Just as Su Jian was looking forward to his bright future, suddenly I realized that the originally noisy classroom suddenly became so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Everyone's eyes, they all stared blankly at the light screen behind him. They all had expressions as if they had seen a ghost. Su Jian turned around in confusion. The next second, his pupils dilated rapidly, his eyes full of horror. IFG. Over the battlefield, Xiong Hanlin widened his eyes in horror. The whole person was completely frightened. From the arrogance and enjoyment just now to the fear and helplessness now. In just a few minutes, it can be said that I have deeply experienced the ups and downs of life. Like a cloud crashing from the sky into the abyss of the sea, it made him feel endless coldness and horror in an instant. Opposite, in midair, Qin Tian's consciousness stood tall. In the crack below, bug monsters that are so huge that they are completely beyond everyone's knowledge. A black torrent, they are pouring out. Chapter 18. Inside the school, a group of students stared stupidly at the black monster in the light curtain. The streamlined, slender, and smooth body looks like it was polished by a machine. Those 6 limbs are as sharp as swords and spears. The sharp barbs all over the body, and its huge size that is as tall as a house. This. What the hell is this? Which BD said it was a parasitic worm? Does this have anything to do with worms? A strong contrast, everyone's brain was in a state of prolonged freeze at this moment. On the battlefield, Qin Tian stood in midair, a group of killer war bugs have gathered below. The number is not large. There are only 10. But this also means that the combat power of each one is several times that of the tiger-spotted wolf spider. The moment I appeared in this strange grassland, A group of war insects immediately set their sights on the group of tiger-spotted wolf spiders on the opposite side. In their simple understanding, there is no distinction between friend and foe. Any other creature is prey in its eyes. No need for Qin Tian's orders, the next moment, 10 killer war bugs pounced on it fiercely. The war bug's screams made people's scalps tingle. In an instant, the sound resounded throughout the battlefield. Until this time, Xiong Hanlin suddenly woke up. He hurriedly ordered his tiger-spotted wolf spiders to meet the enemy. But it was obviously too late. The two sides were only a few dozen meters away. This meant that he lost his last chance to struggle. Certainly, it's just a struggle. The spider web sprayed by the tiger-spotted wolf spider has little effect on the war insects sprinting at high speed. Even if you are entangled by it, the 6 cutting legs can also easily cut spider webs. It was only dozens of meters away and arrived in the blink of an eye. A dozen tiger-spotted wolf spiders in the front row were ripped open immediately. But the group of killer war insects did not stop hunting other prey nearby, and continued to advance forward at high speed. Their means of attack are not biting. Instead, it has 6 limbs as sharp as knives. From the moment of birth, the war bugs know their advantages. And when hunting, can bring this advantage to the extreme. This is an instinct engraved in our genes. 10 killer war bugs, like a high-speed meat grinder, he cut fiercely into the group of tiger-spotted wolf spiders that looked like tofu cubes. In the blink of an eye, juice was flowing everywhere and body parts were scattered all over the ground. After just 2 rounds of sprinting, more than 50 tiger-spotted wolf spiders were slaughtered. On a large field, there is hardly a complete body. Some were cut into several pieces. Some were trampled back and forth by the killer war bugs, it turned directly into a pool of blurry meat paste. Inside the school, deathly silence. Everyone stared at the screen in a daze for a long time, speechless. Some of them haven't even recovered from the shock they felt when they first saw the black bugs. Then, in the blink of an eye, did the battle end so easily? Xiong Hanlin also had a dull look in his eyes. Even exiting the planetary consciousness and returning to the outside world, still looks like dementia. How could it be? How is it possible? Xiong Hanlin murmured and looked up. Staring at the group of tiger-spotted wolf spiders in the frozen picture, whose shapes could no longer be distinguished and had almost become pools of meat pulp. For a time, he simply couldn't accept this cruel fact. The preliminary examination was suspended temporarily for the first time. After Su Jian announced in public that Qin Tian would directly advance to the elite academy and would not have to participate in the next 2 rounds of competition, he went straight back to the instructor's office. Close the door. Su Jian, with a flushed face, I can no longer suppress the surging emotions in my heart. Sometimes laugh out loud. Sometimes he would wave his fists excitedly. The whole person was like a madman. He couldn't help being so excited. After waiting for 5 years, he was already extremely satisfied to have a genius like Xiong Hanlin. I never thought, suddenly, there appeared a being who could wipe out all the species under Xiong Hanlin with a wave of his hand. This kind of person, it is impossible to describe him as a genius. It's simply, evildoer. Quickly walked to the table. In a pile of files, Su Jian dug out Qin Tian's naturalization file. The file information is very simple. It is difficult to tell his family background from this. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Su Jian immediately closed the case file. He quickly got up, walked over and opened the door. Instructor, you're looking for me. Qin Tian said, standing outside the door. Yes, come in and talk. Let Qin Tian into the house. Su Jian personally moved a chair, I sat next to him. And very kindly took Qin Tian's hand, he asked with a smile, where are you from, brother Qin? How are your parents? Qin Tian pulled his hand back without leaving a trace. He couldn't help but frowned. This kind of inappropriate name, he subconsciously thought of the scene when he first met the special envoy of Zhenbei Kingdom, Fanfiction. But he immediately replied, I am from the capital, an orphan, without a father or a mother. Haha, that's great. Oh, no, what I mean is that from now on, our Zerg 8th branch will be your home. Su Jian was so excited that he was incoherent. My heart was filled with joy. If you are not born into a noble family, or even don't have a family, you won't have any ties. Like white water, only then can you make better friends. Thank you, instructor. Yes, that's right. Su Jian managed to calm down. Let's talk business, you know about the annual college competition, right? No. Qin Tian nodded. This was his main purpose for coming to Pingxi Kingdom. 3 months later, the annual college competition held by the Linen City Defense Office will come. First test, in fact, it is just to prepare for the competition. In the bureau, the 3 major academies of Linen City, namely, Zerg, Plant and Wild Beast, will select their own strong men to fight. Firstly, it is to test the performance of the new generation of creators. Secondly, it is also to create some revenue for the already not wealthy city of Linen. By then, not only will people from surrounding towns flock to Linen City, there will also be countless families, large and small, as well as envoys from the royal city coming to observe. Huge flow of people, it will directly boost the city's economy. Certainly, Qin Tian doesn't care about these. But it's the reward for the competition. According to the rules of previous years, the highest reward of the competition, it's a title. It is a title that can allow an ordinary creator to directly leap into the aristocratic class. Chapter 19. Since I came into this world, Qin Tian deeply understood one truth. Want to live better, not only must you have strength, you also need corresponding power and status. Otherwise, in the end, they can only become tools manipulated by those big families and be controlled by them. You will only give birth if I want you to. If I want you to die, you will die. A fierce tiger, after all, you can't beat a group of jackals. As for the conditions offered by the special envoys of the 4 countries, he was not interested in them and would not regret it. Those are all fleeting. Only what you fight for is yours. As in previous years, each branch will select 10 people to compete in this year's competition. Su Jian glanced at Qin Tian. He continued with a smile, according to the rules, before the competition, the elite schools of each branch will first conduct an internal selection to determine the strongest 10 people. However, based on today's preliminary test results, Brother Qin can be the reserved player for our Zerg 8th branch. You don't need to worry about the second round of selection. Just focus on your development. Thank you, instructor. Qin Tian responded. He knew that this was Su Jian opening a back door for him, and it was also a kind of recognition. In fact, even if you follow the rules, there would be no problem in competing for a place in the competition with the development of parasites. 3 months outside, it is nearly 100 years on the planet. Such a long time, he could no longer imagine how horrible his parasite would evolve to. What do you mean by instructor or not? That's too distant. The age gap between us is not that big. How about we call each other brothers from now on? Yes, teach, Brother Su. Ha ha ha, that's right. In the end, I'm the one who got the upper hand. Su Jian laughed heartily twice. Then he stood up and poured 2 cups of tea. Pass one of the cups to Qin Tian. I am a humble man, not a man of many tastes. If you like me, today we can drink tea instead of wine and become brothers. To be honest, I have my own selfish motives. I want to take advantage of you and enjoy the shade under your big tree. Qin Tian. He thought Su Jian was just talking casually. I didn't expect the other party to be serious. And he said it so bluntly. Qin Tian smiled. I had no choice but to accept the tea. The 2 clinked their glasses. Drink it all in one gulp. Ha ha ha, Brother Qin, to be honest, I was a little worried that you wouldn't accept my favor. Su Jian wiped the corner of his mouth, put down the teacup and smiled. What if I didn't answer? If you didn't answer, then don't answer. I can't embarrass you in the future for such a small matter. Su Jian said as a matter of course, after today's battle, anyone with a discerning eye can see that you are definitely not an ordinary person. If I didn't want to die, I wouldn't have done anything to offend you. Brother Su is joking. Qin Tian was a little helpless. The strong man in front of me with a rough and honest face is really like his appearance. He is straightforward and doesn't beat around the bush. He says whatever he wants to say. Oh, yes. Su Jian stood up, walked to the desk, and took out a blue gold card. The color of the gold card represents the face value. Green is 10,000, and blue is 100,000. This is the reward for first place in the preliminary exam. Take it for now. Although the preliminary examination has not yet ended, but Su Jian doesn't think that among the remaining students, is there any race stronger than Qin Tian? First place in the preliminary exam, well deserved. So much. Qin Tian knew that there were rewards for the preliminary exam. But over the years, the first place in each branch only gets 50,000. The extra ones can be considered as my advance bet and investment. Brother Qin, please don't refuse, otherwise it means you look down on me. Okay, thank you, Brother Su. Now that things have come to this. Qin Tian didn't hesitate anymore and accepted it directly. Brother Su, if everything is okay, I'll leave first. Okay, go back and develop with peace of mind. If nothing unexpected happens, in the competition after March, with your race's strength, it shouldn't be a problem for you to get into the top 20. No, Brother Su. Qin Tian stopped when he heard this. Looking at Su Jian, seriously, I don't want the top 20, I want the top spot, after all, only the first place reward is a title. First place. Su Jian was stunned. Then he sighed and said, Brother Qin, I'm not looking down on you. If it were in previous years, with your performance in the preliminary exam, and a few more months of development and evolution, you would have a chance to fight for first place, or at least secure a top 3 position. However, this year is indeed a little special. Special. I just got the news that 2 creators of the Warcraft civilization came to the Savage Beast Academy this year, and they are from powerful races such as the Demon Dragon and the Fire Phoenix. How come the Warcraft civilization came to Linen City? Qin Tian asked in surprise. It is said that the girl is from the local Duan family. She stayed here because she was attached to her hometown. The boy is the son of the Lin family in Wangcheng. He came to Linen City from afar to pursue the girl from the Duan family. So. Su Jian sighed helplessly again. He really felt sorry for this brother he had just acknowledged. He felt even more unfair for himself and even the 8th branch. For 5 whole years, the 8th branch finally produced a talent who has the potential to soar to the sky. But they were suddenly crushed by 2 huge mountains that appeared suddenly. The Warcraft civilization race is naturally extremely strong. He also uses a variety of powerful magic. How could the Zerg, which had only evolved a few generations, be able to contend with them? Chapter 20. Inside the Linen City Library. Qin Tian is flipping through some documents about Warcraft civilization. For the college competition, he was full of confidence. But 2 Warcraft races suddenly appeared, it undoubtedly creates some haze. No wonder the system's winning rate is so low. The strength of the Warcraft civilization is indeed beyond imagination. Qin Tian put down the literature. The first time I got the news from Su Jian, he immediately asked the system to simulate and deduce the battle between the parasitic Zerg and these 2 species of Warcraft 100 years later. The result was not satisfactory. The winning rate is less than 50%. But after looking at the information in front of me, Qin Tian was relieved. In fact, Warcraft civilization and magic civilization have significant similarities. Both can use a variety of powerful and even world-destroying magic. Difference, it's just a matter of wisdom. Or, the Warcraft civilization is a failed product of a planet with magical energy that cannot give birth to intelligent species. But failed again, nor can it erase its essence as a magical creature. The insect populations on Mars are all ordinary creatures. No matter how the parasite evolves, after all, it is impossible to break through the upper limit of ordinary creatures. This planet has an upper limit. Only. Invade other creators' planets. Steal the genes of the creatures on their planet. This is the only way. I have made up my mind. Qin Tian left the library. It is unrealistic to invade a planet where a creator exists. No one would want to allow others to run rampant and kill people on their own planet. So, Qin Tian plans to find an ownerless planet to try his hand first. When the creator dies naturally or falls accidentally, a fused planet will be left behind. Countries will gather these ownerless planets together. It is generally used as a training ground for other creators. Or it can be used for those who failed to integrate to sightsee the alien landscape. Over the past 100 years, it has gradually developed into a stable industrial chain. Not long after, Qin Tian came to the Planet Chamber of Commerce in the city. This place specializes in the business of ownerless planets. In the lobby on the first floor, it's very lively with people coming and going. In some places, there are already long queues. But they are basically kids from rich families who have not been successfully integrated, and they come mainly to see the novelty. Qin Tian glanced around. His eyes lingered on the Warcraft planet counter for a moment. Then he shook his head. Walk to the Barbarian Beast Planet service counter next to you. With the current strength of the warbugs, challenging World of Warcraft is simply seeking death. Sir, please, Please go first. Seeing Qin Tian's clothing, which symbolizes his status, the person at the front of the line immediately gave up his seat in a flattering manner. As the creator, with this privilege, there is no need to queue. Even the Chamber of Commerce clerk behind the counter shook off his previous laziness and immediately perked up. Very respectfully said, "Hello, honorable creator, are you looking to rent a planet? I want to lease a secondary planet." Qin Tian nodded in response. The planetary level represents the stage of biological evolution. Secondary planet, it is a planet where the main race has evolved to the second generation. How long do you need the lease for? 1 day. 1 day outside, equivalent to 1 year on the planet. It is enough for experimental purposes only. Okay, renting a level 2 savage beast planet for 1 day will cost 500 gold. The guy said familiarly. The price is not expensive. At least it's cheap for Qin Tian. The creator can receive a salary every month. The monthly salary of the Zerg branch is 100 gold. After being promoted to the Elite Academy, the reward directly rises to 1000 gold. Plus the 100,000 yuan bonus for the first test, a mere few hundred gold is just a drop in the bucket. Qin Tian handed over the gold card. Properly handled, the waiter waved his hand to call a maid over. Take Qin Tian to the rental room at the back. The indoor space is not big, but all facilities are available. On the middle table, there is a light blue crystal ball placed on it. The coordinates of the corresponding planet are stored in it. Close the door. Qin Tian took the crystal ball and sat on a recliner. I changed to a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Sink into consciousness. Planet name, Mars civilized race, parasitic Zerg evolution stage, second generation evolution population size, 20,580 auxiliary function, super god level deduction. Killer war bug level, second generation evolution body type, 5M combat power, 980 points quantity, 18,500 abilities, none. Over the restricted area, Qin Tian called out the information interface and checked it. After 3 days in the outside world, that is more than 3 years of development of the planet. The entire parasitic insect colony has reached a size of more than 20,000 individuals. Among them, there are 18,500 war bugs. The queen mother lays about 500 eggs each time. The egg-laying cycle and growth cycle takes about a month. That's 6,000 a year. Converted to outside world time, that's 6,000 second-generation war bugs a day. It's still a little slow. Look at the entire Zerg civilization. The reproduction rate of parasites has become extremely terrifying. But since we are planning to invade an unowned planet and steal the genes of the creatures on the planet, naturally, the faster the reproduction rate, the better. After all, the number of war bugs will directly affect the efficiency of theft. But there is no way at the moment. The development of an ethnic group has its own balance. If forced intervention is used to increase fertility, this will inevitably lead to a decline in the overall combat effectiveness of adults. The gain is not worth the loss. Close the information interface. Qin Tian's eyes swept towards the restricted area. At his will, groups of black war bugs immediately gathered quickly like a tide. At the same time, through the coordinates in the crystal ball in your hand, Qin Tian quickly sensed the specific location of the second-level wild beast planet called Wanshao Star. The next moment, a space crack slowly opened up. Qin Tian floated into the passage first. As a conscious being, there is no danger at all in entering an unowned planet. After a while, Qin Tian stepped out of the passage. What appeared before his eyes, it is a vibrant and peaceful world. Chapter 21. At the end of the passage, lush and full of vitality. On the earth, it is a green grassland that stretches as far as the eye can see. Countless creatures live in it. Some deer-shaped horses are quietly eating grass. Some of them are slender and chasing and playing. Further away, there were several ferocious beasts running and hunting. Compared to my own Mars, the environment here is simply heaven. Qin Tian couldn't help but smile bitterly. After the death of the creator, the fused planet will not be greatly affected. Without the intervention of the creator, the evolution speed of the main civilization race is greatly reduced. All creatures on the planet will continue to reproduce and develop according to natural laws. At this time, more than 20,000 killer war bugs have emerged, more than half. Qin Tian glanced at the herd of wild beasts that were frightened and fled far away. Waved gently. In accordance with his will, a large black wave below instantly turned into black torrents that swept out. Came to this alien planet, Qin Tian lost the power of the creator. It is impossible to do whatever you want in an instant like on Mars. I want to check out the hunting of war bugs. I can only float slowly. But there are still compromises. Immediately, Qin Tian stood with his eyes closed. Throw your consciousness into the swarm. Gradually, the darkness before my eyes disappears. Instead, there was a dark space. The space was filled with countless shining points of light that intertwined with each other. This is the collective consciousness of the Zerg. Qin Tian soon understood. Parasites have no individual consciousness. All individual consciousnesses are concentrated in one unique network of consciousness. Every point of light he saw, they all represent a killer war bug. At this time, Qin Tian suddenly discovered that several spots of light in an area were disappearing rapidly. At the same time, the swarms of war insects on the outside planet seemed to sense something. The one who was running and chasing stopped. The hunter gave up the prey at hand. All the war bugs turned their heads at the same time. Keep your eyes in the same direction. Squeak! Squeak! The war insects screamed to the sky. The piercing and sharp scream instantly echoed across the land. The next moment, the war bugs turned around one by one, rushing towards that area like crazy. Qin Tian focused his attention on a closer war bug. Soon, a violently bumpy scene appeared in Qin Tian's eyes. Grey sky, grey earth, grey grassland. This is the perspective of the war bug. Their world has no other colors except monotonous grey. After running for several minutes, the grey, shaking picture slowly stabilized. Huge and majestic figures began to appear in sight. They were a group of ferocious beasts that were even larger than the 5-meter-tall war bugs. It looks like a tiger or a bear, with fangs all over the corners of its mouth and sharp claws several inches long popping out from the soles of its feet. Not far ahead, there lay the broken corpses of 8 killer war bugs. Roar! As the number of war bugs gathered around them, a group of tigers and bears felt threatened, crouched their bodies like small mountains, stared with their eyes wide open and roared. Strong sound waves, it was almost like small whirlwinds were rolling up in the air. Squeak! The swarm showed no sign of weakness. Even under the provocation of the other party, the war insect's instinctive ferocity was aroused, and it pounced on the enemy with a hissing sound. Qin Tian quickly released a will. Suppress the restlessness of this war insect possessed by consciousness and make it your own eyes. As expected of a wild beast creature, the combat power is simply not comparable to those Zerg in the initial test. This group of tigers and bears. There must be at least several thousand people fighting on each side. Qin Tian looked at the one-sided massacre in front of him. Face to face, the killer war bugs suffered heavy casualties. Some were shot away, some were torn to pieces, some were knocked to the ground and had their heads bitten by tigers and bears. The ferocity was so frightening that Qin Tian was shocked. This is just a creature on a second-level beast planet. And they are not the main civilized race. The main race will never consist of only a dozen or so individuals. But I was surprised. Qin Tian was not worried about the outcome of the fight. No matter how strong a tiger-bear beast is, it is still made of flesh and blood, and no matter how powerful it is, it has its limits. Under the attack of thousands of fearless war insects, their death is only a matter of time. However, the reality was much faster than Qin Tian expected. As more and more war bugs from the outside joined the battle, stacked up one by one, not long after, a group of tiger-bear beasts were submerged in a dense sea of insects. Qin Tian exited the war bug consciousness and returned to Mars. With the Zerg's highly efficient collective combat mode of all sides rush to help when one side is in trouble, as long as you don't encounter a large-scale race of barbaric beasts, you can rest assured. An hour later, some of the war bugs began to return with their loot. A group of camel worms gathered around the Queen Mother and immediately crawled over to drag the prey to feed her. Basically, the Queen Mother always only tries a little. Mars has no shortage of food. The Queen Mother also absorbed the genes of the wild beasts at the instruction of Qin Tian. Ding, planet origin plus 0.001. Qin Tian was stunned. I thought I heard it wrong. Just soon, 2 more system prompts sounded in succession. Ding, planet origin plus 0.001. Ding, planet origin plus 0.002. Qin Tian seemed to realize something. He immediately turned around and looked towards the entrance of the passage. Most of the prey brought back by the war bugs were already dead. But inevitably some of them still have a breath left. Sure enough, as a war insect walked out of the passage carrying a not yet dead deer beast in its mouth. The beast was unable to withstand the harsh high temperature of Mars and died instantly. The system prompt sounded immediately. The origin of the planet. It can actually be obtained by sacrificing the lives of living creatures. Got confirmation. Qin Tian was a little surprised at first. Then there was a burst of ecstasy. The planetary origin is the core energy of a planet. At the same time, it is also the basis for summoning companion creatures. But when summoned, the consumption of origin is terrifying. The entire raw reserve of a planet, basically, it can only be summoned twice. Over the past 100 years, countless creators and predecessors have tried countless methods. No one has found a way to increase the origin of the planet and increase the number of summons. But I didn't expect that. Can the origin of the planet be increased through this method? This means... Qin Tian's breathing suddenly became rapid. This means, he will not be limited in the number of summons. He will be able to summon out Martian war bugs continuously. In the outside world, summon hundreds of millions of war bugs. Chapter 22. Under the sunset, the setting sun is blood red. Thousands of wild beasts fled in panic across the land. A little slower, they will be swarmed by the outer war insects. After dispersing, only pools of scarlet blood remained. Killing like expulsion, its effect, it's obvious. In less than half a day, thousands of wild beasts were driven into the crack passage. Ding, planet origin plus 0.001. Ding, planet origin plus 0.001. Ding, planet origin plus 0.002. Ding, planet origin plus 0.001. Listening to the system prompts that kept ringing in my consciousness, Qin Tian's emotions had long since stabilized. Just some emotion. Perhaps, in order to find a way to increase the origin of the planet, countless creators have also tried to plunder the creatures on unowned planets in this way. But there will never be a large-scale plunder of tens of thousands of them. It's more of an experimental nature. But the tiny amount of origin that was added by a few dozen creatures was so pitiful that it was almost negligible. It's impossible to be perceived. If the system does not deliberately prompt, I also couldn't detect the slightest bit. Planet name, Mars civilized race, parasitic Zerg evolution stage, second generation evolution population size, 20,580 planet origin, 81,622 auxiliary function, super god level deduction. Qin Tian called out the system information. On the interface, there is one more origin value. This is a new feature added to the God-level Creator Assistance system. The origin of the planet is displayed more intuitively in the form of data. The original origin of Mars is only more than 80,000. The gap is huge compared to the idea of summoning countless war insects to protect him. But there is a way, the rest is accumulation. One day this goal will be achieved. And, in contrast, the speed of stealing biological genes, simply driving them away is much faster than hunting and killing them. After conveying a will to the Queen Mother, Qin Tian left the planet. The war bugs that hatched later, the Queen Mother will follow his order and continuously transport it to the Star of 10,000 Beasts. As for the space crack channel, as long as he doesn't actively cut off the connection, it won't be closed. Back to the outside world, Qin Tian came to the counter with the crystal ball. Under the surprised gaze of the fellow, he directly bought this wild beast planet for 5,000 gold. Then, Qin Tian came to the Warcraft planet check-in counter again. In the guy's equally surprised look, he bought 2 Warcraft planets at a total price of 90,000. The 2 guys stared at Qin Tian's back as he left. I couldn't help but shake my head. I sighed in my heart that having money means you can do what you want. After all, in their view, it is only used to train the creatures under your command. He just bought a few expensive planets. How inhumane. Back to the school, Qin Tian threw his consciousness back into Mars. The 2 Warcraft planets I purchased, one level 1, another second level. He had no intention of opening the space channel immediately to capture the monsters on these 2 planets. Regardless of the strength or number of the war bugs, right now it is far from enough to develop a new Warcraft planet. Furthermore, opening the channel also requires continuous consumption of the planet's essence. Although it is very small, but compared to the fact that it takes nearly 1,000 wild beasts to obtain 1 point of essence, it becomes extremely precious. We still have to save the money. Over Mars. Qin Tian habitually patrolled inside and outside the restricted area first. Since I bought that wild beast planet, he was no longer in a hurry. The millions of insect species selected earlier are still arriving. It may take hundreds of years for the most distant tribes. Mars is too big. According to Qin Tian's estimate, it must be at least 10 times the size of the Earth in my previous life. The distance is too far. It is also a large-scale migration of ethnic groups. Along the way, we climbed over mountains and crossed ridges. Also, avoid the countless other Zerg species along the way. You can imagine how much time it takes. This can't be rushed. After the inspection, Qin Tian then entered the Star of 10,000 Beasts. Next, Qin Tian basically spends every day on the planet except for resting, eating, and drinking. Sometimes he would inspect his own planetary territory. Sometimes I would go to the Star of Beasts to take a look at the alien scenery. Or you can personally command a few roundup operations from the perspective of the war bugs. In addition, the consciousness body has no concept of time on the planet. The days don't seem boring. Unconsciously, 2 months passed in a flash. 2 months outside, on the planet, it lasts for 60 years. Planet name, Mars civilized race, parasitic Zerg evolution stage, second generation evolution population size, 405,681 planet origin, 127,435 auxiliary function, super god level deduction. Killer war bug level, second generation evolution body type, 5M combat power, 980 points quantity, 357,486 abilities, none. 60 years, let the entire parasitic insect colony expand wildly to more than 400,000. In addition to more than 40,000 camel-carrying insects similar to worker ants, then subtract the death loss from battle damage. The number of war bugs has reached nearly 360,000. In the Star of 10,000 Beasts, where the eye is, there were black swarms of insects everywhere. There is almost no end in sight. But such a large scale of war insects, it does not improve the efficiency of obtaining the origin. On the contrary, it is gradually decreasing. According to the time in the planet, only more than 45,000 origins were added in 60 years. On average, only 2 to 3 points can be obtained per day. But, there is no other way. As the wild beasts near the space channel were rounded up and captured, the war bugs must travel long distances to find the herds farther away. Until now, the journey has reached thousands or even tens of thousands of miles. The further back you go, the efficiency will be lower. Take your eyes away, Qin Tian returned to Mars. Nearly 1 million selected insect species have already arrived, in addition to selecting some people from each tribe for the Queen Mother to absorb genes. The vast majority of the remaining ones are scattered around the restricted area to survive. The restricted area at this time is in order to meet the huge number of parasitic insect colonies. It is no longer limited to the original area of just a dozen miles. Under Qin Tian's will, its range radiates over tens of thousands of miles around. Arriving above the Queen Mother, evolution. Qin Tian conveyed a slightly trembling order to him. There is excitement, I feel emotional. There are vicissitudes. After so much accumulation, after such a long wait, for isn't it this moment? Below, the Queen Mother's plump body trembled. Probably there are countless insect and beast genes fused in the body. Qin Tian waited patiently. This wait, just half a month. Finally, on the 16th day, the Queen Mother has made some movement. Begins to lay eggs. Different from the previous white, these 2-meter-tall eggs are spotted and colorful. And it exudes a very clear and fierce aura. I waited another 2 months. Roars gradually came from the huge insect nest that was expanded again. Buzz. Followed by a loud roar like a fighter plane passing by. In Qin Tian's expectant eyes, huge black shadows, fluttering wings, straight to the sky. Chapter 23. Qin Tian's eyes flashed. The will of the Creator surged out instantly. The group of huge monsters that had just soared into the sky immediately put away their ferocity. They all flew down obediently like little lambs and lowered their bodies. Hybrid species, it's beyond recognition. Qin Tian looked around for a moment. The colors of the creatures before me did not change. The whole body is pitch black. No color at all. But it has almost lost its insect-like appearance, it's more like a combination of insects and wild beasts. The most striking thing is their mouth. Or maybe it would be more appropriate to call it a beak. Nearly 1 meter long. When closed, it looks like a sharp spear. These wings. That's too much, it should have evolved from the genes of the main race in the myriad beasts star. Qin Tian looked at the huge wings of these creatures that stretched several dozen meters. The main race of the Wanshao star was encountered by the war bugs 30 years ago. They were a group of flying species that looked like pterosaurs. Due to the lack of air attack means, at that time, they lost nearly 1,000 killer war insects before they were able to kill a dozen pterosaurs. However, unlike the flesh wings of pterosaur, the Queen Mother probably combined some flying insect genes. Its wings are mostly made of bones. There is only a thin layer of skin attached between the bones. There is also a pair of exaggerated bony claws under the body. Overall, most of them are insect characteristics. Think a little. Qin Tian named it the Annihilator war bug. Annihilator level, 3rd generation evolution, body size, 68 cm, combat power, 25,800 points, quantity, 300, ability 1, rapid piercing, curl up the body and turn it into a weapon. Ability 2, bone spur projectile, use cavity pressure to eject bone spurs from the body. There are actually 2 abilities. Qin Tian looked at the information about the animal fighter bug that appeared in front of him in surprise. As for combat power, I can only say it's just barely passable. After all, he had been holding it in for 60 years. The 3rd generation of war insects hatched by combining the genes of countless insects and wild beasts. Of course, to balance the structure of life, the Queen Mother simply selected the best parts of the genes. It is impossible to really pile up millions of biological genes into one species. That would only hatch a kind of deformed creature with no fighting power. After a while, Qin Tian brought this group of destroyer war bugs to the Wanshao star. As soon as I came out of the space channel, the Annihilator war bug set its sights on the killer war bug that was driving away the herd of wild beasts below. Their eyes all showed a fierce look. This is their instinct. A stronger generation emerges, it heralds the elimination of the previous generation. Just like the 2nd generation of war bugs slaughter the 1st generation of war bugs after they hatch. Qin Tian immediately released a will, stopped the Annihilator war bug from taking action. Now is far from the time to upgrade. He also needs a large number of killer war bugs to plunder the biological essence on the Star of Beasts. Suspended above the passage, Qin Tian cast his gaze far into the distance on the surface. Will bursts forth, a group of destroyer war bugs immediately spread their wings and flew rapidly towards the southeast. A million kilometers away in that direction, the main race occupying this planet is the pterosaurs. Back to the outside world, it was early morning. Qin Tian got up and stretched his body. I was planning to go to the canteen to have some breakfast. Then I met Su Jian, who came to visit unexpectedly. Brother Qin, how are you these days? Good. Qin Tian poured Su Jian a glass of water. Afterwards, there was no more politeness. Asked bluntly, Brother Su, what's the matter? The other party obviously didn't come to the temple for no reason. It's impossible for me to come here so early in the morning just to chat. It's nothing serious. I just received a notice that some adjustments have been made to this year's competition. Without waiting for Qin Tian to ask, Su Jian continued, originally, each branch of the 3 colleges had 10 entries. For example, our Zerg Academy has 8 branches, which adds up to 80 places. This year, the number of participants has been greatly reduced, with each of the 3 major colleges only having 30 regular participating places and 1 seated place. 31 people in total. And it's no longer an equal distribution, but an elimination system. In half a month, our Zerg Academy will hold an internal competition for each branch. Choose the strongest 31 people from among them to represent the entire Zerg Academy in the competition. Qin Tian nodded after hearing this. I didn't really care. Anyway, for him, it's just a formality. Brother, notification is secondary to this trip, hehe. Su Jian smiled somewhat embarrassedly. I rubbed my hands subconsciously again. With a hint of expectation, actually, I mainly want to ask, how is Brother Qin's race evolving? Not bad, just evolved to the 3rd generation. 3rd generation? The smile on Su Jian's lips froze. He thought, 2 months later, Qin Tian can at least develop and evolve for 3 or 4 generations. Can. Compared with the initial test, it has only evolved for 1 generation. Su Jian stood there in a daze. I felt extremely lost. Before coming here, he made a point of asking about it. It is said that many people in other branches have evolved their races to the 7th generation. Some few geniuses, it has even reached the 8th generation of evolution. If Qin Tian continues to develop at this snail's pace, even if they evolve to another generation in half a month, they are still far from being a match. See Su Jian's expression. Qin Tian quickly understood the other party's concerns. He said comfortingly, "Don't worry, brother Su. The strength of a race is not determined by the number of generations of evolution. Although my Zerg has only evolved to the third generation, its combat power has reached more than 20,000. In the internal competition in half a month, there will be no problem in winning a place in the big competition. Yes, the strength of a race does not depend on evolution." Su Jian responded in a distraught tone. After a while, he suddenly woke up. Like a cat whose tail is stepped on, I jumped up from my chair in shock. He stared and shouted, "Etc. What did you say?" 2. More than 20,000 combat power. Chapter 24. Su Jian was really frightened. The path of biological civilization evolution is recognized to be rugged and difficult. A biological race wants to achieve the evolutionary requirements. The next generation's combat power must be more than twice that of the previous generation. Countless creators have tried carefully and stumbled upon each other. Through more than a dozen times, even hundreds of reproductions, almost in a slow way that accumulates day by day, it was only with great difficulty that the combat power of the new generation was gradually increased to twice the rating standard. The effort and energy required, for the creator of biological civilization, this is equivalent to great mental torture. But this monster in front of me, the combat power of the second generation evolutionary body in the first test was clearly less than 1000. Evolved just once, it directly caused the combat power of his race to soar 20 times? To be precise, the combat power of the third generation seems to be. Qin Tian recalled the information about the Annihilator war bug. Finally confirmed, "That's right, it's 25,800 combat power." Su Jian just felt his head buzzing. My heart was in turmoil and I couldn't control myself. In half a month, before the internal competition, it won't be a problem to evolve to another generation. Qin Tian didn't pay attention to Su Jian. I lowered my head and thought about it. Tangled, but this will inevitably slow down the reproduction rate, which is not worth the loss. Su Jian opened his mouth. I want to say something but I don't know what to say. People are trying every possible way and taking great pains to evolve their own species. To you, is it as simple as eating and drinking water? Want to evolve? Evolve. If you don't want to evolve, then don't evolve. Still think it slows down reproduction? Don't think it's worth it. If this were said by someone else, Su Jian would definitely slap him without saying a word. A curse, stop the bullshit and go back to your career. But it comes from a rare 5-year. No, it is the mouth of a demon that has never appeared in 100 years. Nothing is impossible. At least, in Su Jian's memory, in just 3 days of the initial test, he managed to evolve his species to the second generation. And the combat power of the second generation evolution is as high as nearly 1,000. There is only Qin Tian. Brother Qin. Su Jian reached out and patted Qin Tian's shoulder. Suppress the surprise in your heart. Said in a deep voice, just focus on your development and don't worry about the internal competitions of Laozi. Your goal is the big competition. Good. Qin Tian nodded. He didn't care much about the internal competition. Also, although the number of candidates for the competitions of each branch has been reduced this year, the rewards have been greatly increased. The number of titles alone has increased to 2. It is said that the first place winner was given the title of Viscount as an exception. However, these 2 titles may also be prepared for the 2 creators of the Warcraft civilization. So, brother, let me tell you something unpleasant. Forget about the title. The 3rd or 4th place is probably a bit uncertain. But there is still a chance for 5th place, and at the very least we can get into the top 10. As long as you can get into the top 10, you will not only receive a more generous bonus than in previous years, but you will also be included in the supervisory department's reserve list. After graduation, I will be directly assigned to the supervisory department and become an inspector. The last sentence, Su Jian emphasized his tone. The supervisory department is a government office that specifically manages the domestic creators. It holds real power, not just the empty positions that were assigned in previous years. I was afraid that Qin Tian didn't understand. Su Jian added another explanation. Vicomte. Qin Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. Then came Hiwa West, enter this creator academy, all for the sake of obtaining a title. In previous years, he was a baron of the lowest rank. Baron, you can establish a government office and build a military base, recruit soldiers, enjoy fiefdoms, and receive titles and salaries. The Viscount, although it is only one level higher, but you can have your own fiefdom. This is the real foundation. Qin Tian sighed in his heart. As for the inspector mentioned by Su Jian, he didn't take it to heart at all. No matter how powerful the government is, it is also controlled by those big families. If I still work for them in the end, why not just find a master early on? After leaving the school, Su Jian went straight to the dean's office. A pre-prepared list was placed on the desk. Dean Ma, this is the preliminary list of candidates for the competition from our 8th branch. Dean Ma is a thin man, not much older than Su Jian. I am looking at a case file at this moment. Hearing this, he didn't even raise his head. He just waved his hand casually as if he was shooing away a fly. At this time, 2 more branch instructors came in. They all submitted the names of their own branches. Dean Ma put down the case file in his hand. While taking the list, he asked while looking at one of them with a smile, "Old Chen, how is the development of your branch? Are you confident in the competition?" "It's not bad. There are many talented people this year. It shouldn't be a problem for me to get into the top 50 in the competition." "Oh." Dean Ma's eyes lit up. The Zerg branch has never made it into the top 100 over the years. Immediately, he looked at the other person again. The man hurriedly said, "My second branch can't compare with Lao Chen, but it's not a problem to get into the top 80. Old Lu, you are too modest. I heard that one of your students has just evolved to the 8th generation. I am just one person. How can I compare to you? Your first branch is full of talents every year." "Ha ha ha, that's it, that's it." The two finished talking and laughing. It was as if he had just seen Su Jian next to him. "Hey, isn't this Coach Su? How is Coach Su's 8th branch developing? It is said that there are 2 geniuses. 2 is too few, haha, indeed. This year is different from previous years. The entire Zerg Academy only has 31 spots for the competition. Coach Su needs to work harder. Don't let him fail to get a single spot. It would be embarrassing if he fails." The two laughed and ridiculed each other. "Seems like I've gotten used to it. It is well known that the 8th branch is losing talent. Every year, they are eliminated in the first round of the competition. In fact, this is also related to the dean's deliberate suppression. Perhaps the better a person rises to power, the less he or she wants to be imitated. Every year, the best new creators are basically assigned by him to other branches. When it comes to the 8th branch, all the people there are mediocre. In fact, the branch number, it can basically represent the strength of each branch. In previous years, Su Jian could only endure the teasing silently and leave in disgrace. But at this moment, in his eyes, the 2 people in front of me are talking big like 2 fools. Front 50? 80 years ago? Oh. When I become the dean, I'll make you get out first." Su Jian glanced at the 2 of them. After leaving the dean's office, at the same time, I couldn't help but say silently in my heart, "Brother Qin, my reputation depends on you, please don't make any mistakes." Chapter 25. In the evening, Qin Tian woke up. After dinner, we entered Mars. In the restricted area, after 1 day of development on the planet, the annihilator war bugs have also grown to a certain scale. Looking up, swarms of war bugs soared in the sky. The huge body blocks out the sun and the sky. The shadow cast, from time to time, this would cause unrest among the insect communities outside the restricted area. Compared to the killer warbug, the reproduction rate is still too slow. The queen can only lay 300 eggs at a time. The egg formation and growth cycle in the body takes up to 2 months, almost twice as many as the killer warbugs. Over the past year, the number has only increased by 1,800. Qin Tian checked the information interface. "Take a look around." Qin Tian followed the space channel to the star of 10,000 beasts. "Attach your consciousness to a destroyer bug." During this year on the planet, the first batch he brought was a total of 300 annihilator war bugs. In addition to hunting and eating from time to time, the rest of the time was spent on the road. At the end of the side ahead, hundreds of towering ancient trees can already be seen faintly. That area of ancient trees is the territory of the pterosaurs, the main civilized race on this planet. Hualalalal. As the annihilator war bugs approached, groups of pterosaurs immediately flew out from the ancient trees and swarmed over. Kill. Qin Tian released his will. He led this group of destroyer war bugs to come across millions of miles. One of them, of course, was to capture the group of pterosaurs that he had previously been unable to defeat and had no choice but to give up. The other was to see with his own eyes the strength of the third generation of war bugs. Roar! The annihilator war bugs, having received the order, let out a series of low growls. But he didn't rush forward immediately. But in several rows, they began to flap their wings violently in unison. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In an instant, a large black shadow appeared. They were sharp bone spurs several meters long and as sharp as spears. It is ejected through the powerful special cavity pressure in the abdomen of the annihilator warbug. The pterosaur herd was still several thousand meters away. Facing the bone spurs that shot rapidly from a very long distance, plus there are too many people like me crowded together, they simply can't dodge effectively. Nearly 100 pterosaurs that were the first to be hit had their bodies pierced and fell down wailing. From Qin Tian's perspective, it was like a beast rain falling in the distant sky, and the scene was extremely spectacular. It's a pity that the bone spur can only be shot once, if we can fire continuously. Qin Tian looked at the group of annihilator war bugs that were rushing forward. I had no choice but to give up this unrealistic idea. The bone spurs need to slowly grow back inside the warbug. How is it possible to be endless and uninterrupted? But even if you can only shoot one round, it is also an extremely powerful ability. The distance is far, fast speed, facing an equal number of enemies, almost all the enemies can be wiped out with just one round of long-range salvo. Far away, the swarm of war insects and the swarm of pterosaurs are getting closer and closer. When the distance between the two sides was less than 500 meters, a group of destroyer bugs suddenly began to twist their bodies and fly. And it keeps retracting its wings to wrap its entire body tightly in a spiral shape. The speed is getting faster and faster. More and more urgent, final, it transformed into rapidly rotating spears and pierced into the pterosaur herd. In a flash, screams one after another, a cry of grief, resounding throughout the earth. After penetrating, a group of destroyer war insect gods spread their bodies and flew forward for a distance. Then, the collective turned around. The same method was used to transform them into rotating spears that pierced back and forth among the pterosaur herd. Fine, this ability of the war bugs can be reused. Qin Tian nodded with relief. In fact, this is also the main attack method of the annihilator war bug. They have long bodies, exaggerated bony wings, and spear-like beaks. This is what it was constructed for. After watching for a while, Qin Tian then ordered the annihilator war bugs to be rounded up and driven away. Return to Mars. He glanced at the swarm of war bugs soaring in the sky. More than 1,000 annihilator war bugs should be enough. Now it's time to develop the Warcraft planet. It would be best if we could evolve the 4th generation of war bugs within half a month. Qin Tian waited. This decision was not made for the internal competition. To deal with those Zerg civilizations, the annihilator war bug is more than enough, but Dabby, he dared not take it lightly. The stronger the war bugs, the more complex the genes in the body. Correspondingly, the faster it hatches and the longer its growth cycle. In half a month, they stole and plundered the genes of Warcraft. The remaining half-month is reserved for breeding. When I think of this, Qin Tian no longer hesitated. Immediately communicate with one of the lighter purple crystal balls in the outside world. After a while, a space crack began to take shape. As before, Qin Tian entered the crack first. As soon as I stepped out of the passage, a large area of dazzling white angelica light suddenly hit. Next, it is a vast and huge pressure. The heavy and majestic power, this caught Qin Tian off guard. It almost felt like my own consciousness was being crushed. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.